Hi everyone, good beautiful Sunday. Today is August 21st and We are now at our 103rd episode of the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay, Iba Pa. My name is Coach Darwin Rivers, and we are very happy for today because we have a featured international speaker that will be joining us at the latter part of our program, who will be discussing about the future of employee experience. We actually have Mr. Ashish Mittal, and he will be providing us with more inputs about what to expect when it comes to the development and growth of the employee in the organization and focusing on employee experience. The HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay, Iba Pa is an online talk show program that airs every Sunday at 3 p.m. And we are live at the Philippines HR Group FB group page and also the Philippines HR Group YouTube channel, as well as the HR Cafe FB page. As mentioned earlier, my name is Coach Darwin Rivers. I'm the founder and president of the Philippines HR Group. I'm a certified life coach, a public speaker, a motivational speaker, and HR consultant. I'm also the currently the VP for global HR operations of a BPO company. And of course, joining me today are our HR mentors. We have mentors Rona Del Ferentino. Mentors Rona has more than 20 years of HR practitioner experience working in both local and international companies. She is the president and CEO of Approach Social Geekers, a public speaker and HR consultant, was named one of the LinkedIn's top 100 HR leaders. Mentor Rona, how are you?
Hi! Good afternoon everyone! Isa na namang fruitful Sunday para sa ating lahat. I'm very excited, Coach Darwin, about our guest for today. Naku na, nakaka-excite. Kasi talaga naman po, paminsan-minsan lang tayo madaanan dito ng mga international speakers. Ayan. So I'm very excited with
Agree.
today's episode. I am excited also for our viewers. If you are watching us right now here at HR Cafe, please don't forget to tag your friends, share our video for today para naman we can share the learning to everyone. Coach Dar?
Agreed. And of course, we also have Mentor Tina Koang. Mentor Tina is an operations and HR leader with broad local and overseas experience. She's a general manager of a retail company, best known also for her online content and blog tinainmanila.com. She's also one of the top 100 women in LinkedIn. Mentor Tina, how are you?
Good afternoon, everyone, to viewers here and overseas. As Rana has said, we're very excited to have Ashish as part of our show because his topic, which is all about employee experience, is very, very
Experience.
close to our hearts. And I really, really think it's even more important than other aspects in HR because this is really where we shine. Right. So for people who are
Agree.
watching the show, please feel free to write your name, your company name, where you're from, here or overseas, so that we can give you a shout out at the show.
And also tag your friends and share it to
Oh,
your community.
hmm.
Okay, so let's start. Here at the HR Cafe, we provide timely news and updates. We also impart knowledge and experience that are value adding and beneficial to our audience. We discuss problems, issues, and challenges and provide answers and resolutions through our guest resource speakers. If there are any new technologies, tools, and processes, we discuss it here because we would like to ensure that everyone is aware of any best practices in the industries. If your company has any job openings, please post it at the comment section and we'll be happy to announce it because the HR Cafe is also a virtual job board and we connect prospective candidates to prospective employers. The HR's Cafe goal is to bridge understanding between employers and employees and to also to provide inspiration and motivation to all Filipino workers. We start our program over the past months and years that we've been doing this. We started by a wow quote for the week. And for this particular episode, our 103rd episode of the HR Cafe, our wow quote for the week comes from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. According to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we must accept finite disappointment but never lose infinite hope. Let me just repeat this. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. How does this particular quote resonates to you, to your life, and to your work? Please share it to us by commenting it at the comment section. Let's start with our mentors. Mentors, Rona, how is this particular quote by Martin Luther King resonates to you?
This quote is a very interesting one. I think a few episodes ago, one of the things that I mentioned was whenever we feel disappointed, stressed out, or whatever, we have to tell ourselves that this too shall pass.
Correct.
Because disappointments, di ba sabi nga, like what our quote for the week mentions here, there is an end to it. Okay, there will always be an end to it. It's not something that's infinite. Your disappointments, it's not something na forever siyang nandyan. There will be an end to it. But oftentimes, we fail to see that end because we are wallowing too much on the disappointment. So whenever you feel disappointed, you're stressed out, you don't know what to do, always tell yourself, this too shall pass. And whenever you are also feeling super super yabang na or super kayang-kaya ko lahat. Also tell yourself that this too shall pass. There will be an end to all of this. What is unending, what is overflowing in us, it should always be overflowing us, is the hope that this too shall pass and that there will be a better day. Whatever our situation is, there will always be a better day. There will always be a better version of ourselves, but only if we allow it to happen, and if we hope, we really push forward regardless of the situation we are in. For me, that's how I see it, Coach Dar. What about you, Mentor Tina?
I'm a Sandman fan, and it's now showing on Netflix. It's top 10.
Hindi ko pa
Naunahan ako.
You should watch that.
There's a particular
In
quote for this
in
eh.
episode 4, in episode 4, Lucifer and Sandman were fighting, and they were trying to express what is the most powerful thing in the world. And ironically, the most powerful thing, according to the show, was hope. And at first, you're like, how? Ang expect ko, love eh. I was expecting love. I was like, love is the most powerful thing. Yung alam mo yun? But to my surprise, it was hope. And after some reflection, I've realized the wisdom in the word hope. Because hope is gives you the strength when you have no strength left. When you no longer have anything with you, when it's so dark, you're depressed, and you're already at the very end of the line. And there's nobody there. You have no friends, you have no family. The only thing that keeps a man or a woman going is hope. And I think that should be our mantra. Ako kasi I have two mantras. Eh. The first mantra is Magis, which is to do your best no matter what happens. But at the same time, even if you do your best, sometimes disappointments happen because it's life, shit happens. Even if you did everything you could, malas lang talaga. Baka nabatyuhan ka. Calamities happen, people do die. COVID-19 is another black swan event that nobody expected. And for the for people who are performers, that's very disappointing when things don't go their way. And from the doing your best, on the other side of the spectrum is even when it's your darkest, there is hope.
Agree.
And that keeps you going. Because without hope, why would anyone go out? Why would anyone even perform? Why would we even do things on a day to day basis? What are we really working for? There's really nothing there. The future is empty and bleak. At the end, we die and we go back to the earth. And the only reason the entire world is productive is because there is hope for something beyond what is today. And that's, I think, for companies. We treat, diba, we've talked in the HR Cafe, we've talked about how to make people more efficient, how to maximize performance. And we forget about that human side of that, is that we're actually managing people who create value. And a part of what a company needs to do is to give the people hope that this is the best place they could be at this particular time. Because if we forget the lesson and we treat everyone like, okay, we come in, we pay you, it's total rewards, and then if you screw up, we give you like discipline. If we treat it that way and we remove that more humane side of things, nothing will work. Everything will break because there's no purpose to anyone doing anything anyway. Hope actually puts the world together. It's hope when you're a child. There's hope if you graduate, you'll get a better job. There's hope when you work hard, you'll get an even better job. There's hope that if you try hard, you'll get somebody's heart, diba? There's hope that if you just pray hard, that person's gonna like heal themselves. And that is what makes the world beautiful today. Because if you remove hope, the world's so gray and empty. It's
Correct.
meaningless. No, everybody's just doing their thing. But with hope, there's so much, how do you call it? So much layers to what life is. And that's what makes us wake up every day. And that's why we do the things that we do. And that's why we push other people to make the world a more beautiful place. So it's a very
Agree.
powerful thing. It's not love, because love can disappoint you. It's hope, diba? And that's why I think, oh nga no, I love the script, diba? Parang I never thought about that. But if you really reflect on it, tama talaga. Hope is more powerful than love. Hope is more powerful than anything that's dark. Hope is more powerful than any strong, smart, anything out there. And we must remember to
Agree.
always give the people to share, to express, to remind people that they should have hope. Di ba? Kaya taya na
Agree.
tayo sa loto, ha? Baka manalo. Go ahead,
Agree.
Coach Dai.
For me, it reminds me of the Greek legend about the Pandora's box. Remember when Pandora opened the box and um, a lot of evil spirits full of negativity, death, tragedy, destruction,
Mm.
illness came out of the box. Um, and the last spirit that actually went out of the box is the spirit of hope, because it reminds us that even
Mm.
in a world full of stress, anxiety, depression, even in a world full of sorrow, even in a world full of challenges, we should always have hope. And remember, when the pandemic struck in 2020 and we were at home for more than 2 years, we've never really lose hope, because there are certain events, certain milestones that we've had during that time. We've seen people who have given birth, we've seen people who got married, we've seen people who graduated, we've seen people who established their own business at the middle of the pandemic, because these are signs that there is hope even at the darkest times. And I think when we see it at work, remember, as mentioned by Mentor Tina and Mentor Rona, even in the work setting, when the company is being challenged, when the environment is challenging, what you need to do is always to anchor yourself. What gives me hope in this particular workplace? Is it my leader or is it my purpose? So I think every company should always be reminded of that leaders should always be providing inspiration and hope, and that employees should always be reminded that what they're doing is something valuable, and what they're doing adds hope to whatever their dreams or whatever dreams they have in life. So that's it for me for our wow quote for the week. Are there any sharings from our audience, Mentor Tina, Mentor Rona?
Actually, we have D Angkot, sabi ni D, watching from Bataan. Sorry, watching from Dasmariñas, Cavite. He's also saying hello to us. So hello, good afternoon, D. Thank you for always supporting us. We also have here Tricia Joy. Good afternoon from Premium Choice Meat Shop. So good afternoon po sa lahat ng taga Premium Choice Meat Shop. Ayan. We also have Gracie Nahera, HR Royce, HR Christine, Joy Martinez Bernas. Good afternoon sa inyong lahat. And we also have Ana Katrina Padilla who's watching from Bataan. Ayan, one of Sir D. Angkot's HR intern here. Nice naman. So good afternoon po sa inyong lahat. And if you have anything to say about our wow quote for the week, just put it in our comment section para mai-discuss naman po natin yan. Coach Dar?
Yes. Going to our next is our HR question for the week. And this is something that is very sensitive, yet controversial. Can companies go after employees who have unreturned company assets? And this is upon separation. Can companies go after employees who have unreturned company assets after separation? We've been hearing a lot of horror stories of HRs and employers saying that during the time of the pandemic, they were sending laptops, desktops to their employees, and a lot of company assets are being sent. And when these employees resign, unfortunately, they either forget or are no longer able to be contacted by their employers or by their HR teams, meaning the assets of the company is still with these employees. And someone asked, is there a repercussion or is there something that the company can do, or is there something that the employee should remember whenever they do not return company assets? Let's start with you, Mentor Rona.
Naku, I can relate. Nakaka-relate ako dyan dahil nung start ng pandemic, I was still with a BPO company and we had a lot of problems getting the assets back from those who resigned or who went AWOL during the pandemic. And I also know of some people who actually saw some of their former employees post in various BPO Facebook groups selling the items, selling the assets, the laptops that were given to them by their company. So employee side, please do not do that because that's qualified theft. If I'm not mistaken, that's
It's
qualified theft.
qualified theft.
So don't do that. If you were given an asset and it's not yours, give it back to the company. No matter how bad your experience was with that company, give it back to them because it's not yours. Bata pa lang tayo, tinuturuan na tayo ng mga magulang natin, pag hindi sa'yo, wag mong kukunin. Love life, pag hindi sa'yo, wag mong kukunin. Now, can companies do something about it? Of course, yes, of course. I've seen a lot of people say na you cannot do that, etc., etc. You can actually do that. We already have a Supreme Court jurisprudence for that. The Milan versus NLRC case. It actually mentions there na po pwede yaang i-deduct from the final pay of the employee, or you can actually ask the employee to have that returned as part of their accountabilities. This is also supported by our civil code. Na if there is anything that's due to the employer, po pwede niyang ipadeduct yun. So, hindi ito yung tipong naisip lang natin o kung ano pa man. We actually have laws that support that allow employers to collect from the employees if there is an unreturned company asset. So, short answer, yes. Companies can go after employees either by letting them know that you cannot clear you until you return the asset or deducting it from their final pay or actually filing a case for qualified theft. Mentor Tina, what about you? Meron ka rin bang ganong experience nung pandemic?
Galing ako sa ganyan eh. the for me, a laptop costs around 20,000 to 60,000 pesos. That's around 1,000 US dollars. For people who do practice this, yung not returning company assets after they leave the company, I'd like to ask you, is 1,000 US dollars or 60,000 pesos the best price for your integrity? Kasi totoo lang, mahaba ang buhay. You know, you might be 20, 30, 40 years old, and we all know the item's not yours. You can say that you were wrong by a company, and hence you didn't want to return the company asset, but that's still stealing. The company's wrong towards you does not negate what the wrong, the theft that you are committing right now. And for me, It's a secret that you have to keep. Because if kwinento mo, niyabang mo, ay, loko-loko naman ang company ko. They maltreated me, but I took their laptop. If you brag that to anybody, then that person might be somebody like me who will judge you and think that you are a thief. Yung tipong tao na once I hear a story like that, I know already the type of character that person has. Because it's parang computer, alam mo hindi sa'yo. You know it's not yours and still you keep it. You steal it. And you feel no remorse. There is no guilt. Binebenta mo pa. Most people will say, I'm selling it because my mother needs medicine. I need to pay for tuition fee. It doesn't negate the fact that you are a thief, a liar, and a really bad person. I understand you might have capital needs, but it doesn't mean you have to steal. Some people steal loaves of bread to eat. You actually steal a computer that you sell. And I'm pretty sure that 60 grand didn't all go to your mother's medicine. That makes you a liar. To answer the question, it's a definite yes. The only problem here is many HRs don't know SOP. But technically what you need to do is when you issue the laptop, it needs to be very clear that the cost of the laptop, the cost of the laptop, and also if they lose or damage the laptop, they are accountable to paying for the price of that laptop. So at least people know how much is the cost of the stuff that they're getting and how much they have to return or the damage they need to pay. And a lot of HRs don't do that. When the people disappear, what you need to do is that you give them a time. You need to return it by X date. If they don't return it by that date, the next day, blotter mo na in your barangay. And dapat, in also, sa akin na, I also blotter them in their barangay. Usually, if you blotter them in their residence, what that person would do is the barangay captain will call the family and the person to the barangay hall. It gets settled there. They'll say something like, ay, hindi naman sinasadya, nakalimutan ko, I didn't get the memo. But they will return it because they don't want to be ashamed because they know what they did is a bad thing. If after mo blenotter sa barangay, the next step is you contact your lawyer, you do complaint affidavit, and then you file a case in the prosecutor's office, fiscal. Then you just follow due process. When the fiscal subpoena comes, usually the PCs are returned. The issue lang kasi is HRs don't always give that to legal. O si legal lang gagawa. And then legal sees this, I have many other things to do. So they don't do it. But it doesn't mean that you get away with it. It doesn't mean that it doesn't brand you a thief once you've done it. You did it 10 years ago, you did it 20 years ago, you did it 30 years ago, you're still a thief. So for me, 10,000, 1,000 US dollars is a very small amount for your integrity. It's like a cheater, right? You cheat once, you're always a cheater. I believe that. You know why? People who don't steal don't really steal up until the day they die. People who steal a laptop today will steal many other things before the end of their life. Pag talagang alam mo yung tama at mali, hindi mo talaga siya gagawin. Pero pag ginawa mo ng ngayon, gagawin mo pa rin bukas. And that's the type of person that you are, even if we're friends. Okay? And if you're an HR officer, please don't do it ha kasi integrity is very important.
But would you
I,
believe there
I
are a lot of horror stories that even HR people are not returning company assets?
I think HR manager should be very direct and call the act. Kasi parang nakasunod, oh, these employees did not return company assets. You know, in my incident report, I don't put that way. I don't say return the company asset. I said, please return the item that you stole. Why don't you call the person a thief? 'Di ba? Kasi it's not there. Why is it not? You stole. You stole because number one, the asset is not yours. It's a company property. Two, we've asked you to return it. You know you need to return it, but return it. Three, 'di ba? After we've sent you a memo and you still refuse, etc. That makes you a thief. I don't think you want to be called a thief. Please return it because otherwise we will chase you for legal action. Use the word thief because it is theft. Pero tayo kasi HR, hindi naman kasi, baka nakalimutan, baka hindi nabasa. It's theft, plain and simple. And not just theft, qualified theft.
Correct.
So, mabigat yan. So, please lang, please. Sana HRs will follow the process. Kasi many don't eh. That's the problem. So, ako, for me, I always recover. I always recover. I've never like really like not had somebody return it. Right, Coach Dar?
Mentors Rona and mentors Tina already provided you with the context and what to do in terms of if employees does not return a company asset. I just want to remind everyone that if you did not return something that is not yours, and a case is filed against you, a criminal case is filed against you, not only will you be liable to pay for the asset or return the asset, but you can also be liable for jail time. Qualified theft is something that depending on the amount that is involved can go up to what it depends on the number of years. The number of years in imprisonment will depend on the cost of the items that you've stolen, and even if you've returned it, then you will still have a what do you call this?
Record?
Something in your records, and you'll have, I mean, you'll have very hard time getting an NBI or a police clearance, and it will affect you in the long run. So do not take something that is not yours. Uh, as Mentor Tina mentioned earlier, whatever grievances you have in your company, it does not give you the right to steal from your organization or from your company. So if you have assets that is unreturned, please make sure to return them on time. That's it from our end. Let's start with our HR updates. From the Department of Labor and Employment, Dole announces that it will help in boosting tourism jobs. Now that things are getting back to normal, the Department of Labor and Employment is pursuing a collaboration with the Department of Tourism to boost employment in the hospitality industry. The reason for this is that there have been reports that there is lacking of manpower for hotels and restaurants and other tourism establishments. That's the reason why, according to officials of Dole, they will be coordinating and holding a lot of job fairs in various areas in our country to entice people to go into tourism jobs. And this is something that I believe would help our tourism industry, and also given the high unemployment rate in our country right now. I think last June we have 6% unemployment. This particular program of Dole would help decrease our unemployment rate. So this is something that we commend our Dole officials in doing. Let's go to our updates from Social Security System, Mentor Rona.
Siyempre pa po, ang ating favorite government agency, SSS, has issued Circular 2022-017. Ito po yung guidelines on the declaration of termination, suspension, or dissolution of business operations. So if your company has already ceased operations, has closed down, Circular 2022-017 provides the guidelines and the documents needed para maipasara nyo ng maayos yung inyong company. You can get the full copy of the said circular from the SSS website. Meron din pong copy doon po sa Facebook page ng SSS. Ayan. At pinapaalala din po ng SSS kung gusto niyo po ang na-secure ang inyong DAEM enrollment or yung ating disbursement account enrollment with SSS, pinakamadaling way po para ma-approve po kagad kayo ay mag-upload ng selfie na hawak-hawak niyo po yung inyong card. Okay? So ito po, hawak ang inyong government-issued ID at proof of ownership ng bank account. Upload niyo po ito sa my.sss portal para po safe and secured ang inyo pong disbursement account enrollment. So required na po ito ngayon. Yung details po nito ay makikita ninyo again sa website po ng SSS at sa kanila rin pong Facebook page. So doon po sa Facebook page, meron po silang infographics ng kung ano pong mga steps yung kailangan nyo pong i-take para may upload po ang inyong selfie with your identification card. Next, please. At para naman po sa ating mga individual contributors, self-employed, OFW members, non-working spouse po, pwede na po kayong magbayad ng inyong SSS contribution using Shopee Pay. So Shopee Pay na hindi lang para sa 88, 99 at 1010, pwede nyo na rin po siyang gamitin para sa pagbabayad ng inyong pong SSS contribution. So meron na po niyan sa Shopee. Yung cashback po ay isa po sa mga magandang feature nito kasi may cashback na po siya. Meron na po yan doon sa Shopee 8/15 payday sale. So kung medyo na late lang tayo ngayon pero kung nagbayad na kayo dati, actually po pwede kayong makakuha nung cashback. So magbayad lang po kayo ng inyong SSS contribution. Gamit ng Shopee Pay, makakakuha na po kayo ng 100 coins cashback from August 15 to 17 at 29 to 31. So for more details, you can visit shopee.ph/SSS gamit ang inyo pong mobile phone. Ayan po. At, syempre pa, ang atin pong love ng pag-ibig. May bago pong pasabog ng pag-ibig. Meron na po silang virtual pag-ibig mobile app. Beta version pa lang po ito. So baka may mga bugs pa po kayong makita. But you can already make use of this. So Pag-ibig has already launched their official mobile application. You can view from the virtual pag-ibig app your Pag-ibig savings, annual dividends, payment history, loan balance, and other dues all within your mobile phone. So ito po ay
Even your
nilaunch.
MP2s, actually, no? MP2s can actually be seen on the virtual Pag-ibig mobile app.
Yes. Ayan. So ito po ay nilaunch noong August 18 po. So lahat po yan ay makikita nyo na doon sa kanilang mobile app. Hopefully, mas maganda yung kanilang mobile app kesa sa SSS. Pero ayan, beta version pa lang naman. So ibig sabihin, marami pang mga changes na mangyayari dyan within the next few months. At syempre pa, hindi papahuli ang Pag-ibig pagdating po sa mga discounts. Alam niyo, sa totoo lang, mag-apply kayo for the Loyalty Plus card and the Loyalty card, yung unang version. Kasi ang dami-dami yung mga discounts na makukuha. So we have here 10% discount from Figaro and 20% discount with Bose Coffee. Meron pang discount with Shakey's, meron pa pong discount with McDonald's. Meron din po kayong mag-discount na makukuha sa Enchanted Kingdom. Marami po kayong po pwedeng ma-enjoy pag meron po kayong Loyalty Plus card. Kung kayo po ay nakapag-apply na ng card, makikita niyo po isang buong booklet po yung ibibigay sa inyo na panay mga discounts at mga iba pang privileges na po pwede niyo i-take advantage pag meron po kayo ng Loyalty Plus card. Plus, the Loyalty Plus card also acts as an ATM. So po pwede niyo pong gamitin yan para itabi yung mga pera ninyo o kung ano pa man. Po pwede po dyan. Pwede rin yan pati sa online purchases, meron po yung virtual debit card na kasama. So, ngayon pa lang po ay mag-apply na kayo ng Pag-ibig Loyalty Plus card. Ayan.
And for
And then
PhilHealth,
13 for PhilHealth.
And for PhilHealth Report, August is Sight Saving Month. And if you are undergoing cataract surgery, you get 16,000 pesos reduced from your hospital or clinic bill. Glaucoma is only 6,500. Congenital ophthalmologic disorders 4,300. We actually had an employee who availed of cataract surgery. The original price was at 60,000. Pero kasi because of that, 44,000 na lang ang binayad niya. So what we did, and this is a hot tip for employers, what we did is we actually subsidized his cataract surgery ng 20%. A lot of people are saying, bakit hindi mo na lang 100%? Tulong yun sa tao. Sa akin kasi, there is a sense of fulfillment when an employee also earns the things that they get in life. If we give them 100% subsidy, hindi rin yan makakatulong sa kanya kasi ang tawag diyan hulog ng langit. Pero if you only subsidize a part of it, but they pay most of it, then really talaga for them, it's something that they had in hand in healing themselves. So for a lot of people think na parang, ang mahal naman yan. Because cataract surgery is like 60, but you have to understand, may bawas pa po kasi sa PhilHealth. Once nag-schedule kayo ng surgery, the clinic or the surgery clinic will be the one to reduce it from your bill. Please ask your surgery clinic for details kasi talagang kasama to. Malaking bawas yon. So our staff was able to pay for it 6 months pa lang. Almost done na siya. Almost done na siya. Kasi it's not really, the amount that he paid was quite small. Mga 30 plus lang. So, daig pa ang SSS loan. So, a lot of people nag-SSS loan para maggawa ng bahay. Ang staff ko, he changed his eyes. So, and it changed his life forever, I think. Kasi yung dati niyang sa grade was 1,600
Oh
and
my God.
1,800. So, sobrang taas. Legally
Mentor Tina,
blind
I
siya.
think
That's really
kinukwento mo
taas.
dati. I think kinukwento mo
Yeah.
dati. Sobrang kapal ng
Yeah,
salamin.
yeah. Sobrang kapal ng salamin. Ngayon, hindi na. Grado niya ngayon,
Nice!
50 na. 50 lang. Eh, excuse me, layo kasi from 1,600 and 1,800, eh, diba? So, there. So, people know what is published, the rate published is not always the rate that you will pay. Thanks to PhilHealth. Next. And lastly, National Tuberculosis Day. Ang TB DOTS benefit package is 4,000. Malaking tulong din po yun. Babawas din yun sa account ninyo. So sa mga tao, how do I avail of the PhilHealth discount? You need to pay 9 out of 12 before the day of your surgery. Go, Coach Darwin, next. Next.
Yes, and a word from our sponsors. If your company, your family, or your friends is looking for a place to go this Q4, El Puerto Marina Beach Resort and Vacation Club is a partner of the Philippines HR Group and the HR Cafe. You just have to reach out to them via Facebook, inform them that you're a member of the Philippines HR Group, and you are entitled to special rates and discounts. Also, this is something that we're looking forward to next week. Next week na to, Mentor Tina, Mentor Rona. August 25 to 26, a lot of HR leaders coming from the Philippines and the whole of Southeast Asia will be going to Singapore for the Tech HR Southeast Asia Summit. It will be held at the Marina Bay Sands Hotel in Singapore. For the delegation from the Philippines, mostly from the Philippines HR group, make sure that you already have your confirmation QR code, you already downloaded the events application, and you've already made sure that you apply for the Singapore Pass,
Mm.
Singapore Health Pass, because that will be needed when you enter Singapore. And also, we've sent you an email for the PHRG Tech Viber group, and we have most of our uh, most of our participants or delegation already a member of the PHRG Tech Viber group. You'll get updates from us coming from there, and we are planning for ano nga ba yun, Mentor Tina? We're planning for a
We're going
meetings.
out.
Yeah, we're going out. We're
We're
going
meeting,
to,
sister. We're
we're,
going out together. We're gonna
yeah,
meet. Put a name to the face, na.
yes.
Put a face to the names, and then we're also going to go around Singapore businesses to
Singapore.
see
Correct.
their best practices. Totally out of this world.
Correct, correct. So there will be fellowships from our delegation. So we'll see you there. Also, the Philippine HR Group is partnered with eShield. So for members of the Philippine HR Group, you get 15% exclusive discount when you avail of eShield for your company. eShield is a wearable device that tracks the health and wellness of your employees as well as their locations. You just have to register at the Shield's website at www.shield.me/hr. eShield is a part of the Philippines HR Group and HR Cafe to promote a healthy lifestyle to your company's employees. If you have any questions, please make sure you post it to the Philippines HR group, the mentors, the moderators, and all of our members will be happy to answer your questions there. We also encourage you, if you have LinkedIn, we have more than 10,000 members now in LinkedIn, in our FB page in LinkedIn. But for our FB page in Facebook, we have more than 275,000 members already. Also, we encourage you to please like the FB page of the HR Cafe Usapang Trabaho Buhay Iba Pa. You will see there all of the recordings for more than 100 episodes of the free seminars and the free discussions that we've had here in our program. You can also watch it in YouTube. And if you're interested to be a sponsor, please send me an email, darwinrivers@yahoo.com, or message any of the mentors, Mentors Tina, Mentors Rona, or Mentors Burns. Or message us at the HR Cafe Trabaho Buhay Iba Pa FB page. As mentioned earlier, we have an international guest speaker for our 103rd episode. And this is no other than Mr. Ashish Mittal, or Ash. So, just to provide you his background, Mr. Ashish Mittal is the CHRO of Srinidhi Educational Group, which is based in Hyderabad in India. He comes with a rich and diverse work experience of over 23 years across CSR, IT, ITES, and educational industries. He has done his HR certification in IIM Bangalore and MBA from the Southern New Hampshire University in the US. He's been awarded with many prestigious awards. In 2022, May, he's among Asia's 100 Power Leaders in HR, awarded by White Page International. In March 2022, he was one of the topmost HR leaders in India, awarded by the World HRD Congress. In 2021, he was part of the Grand Jury of Economic Times for the Human Capital Awards. He was recognized as a top 50 HR leaders in India by Forbes India. He was also confirmed and recognized at the top as the top 50 best HR leaders in 2021 by the White Page International. He has been conferred with the Asian Education Award for HR contribution to education, and also the Indian Achievers Award for excellence in HR by the Indian Achievers Forum and Achievers World. Ashish was recognized as one of the 101 most fabulous HR leaders in 2020. This is the same event that Mentor Stina and I was part of, and um, as one of the HR Super Achievers and HR Leadership Award in the World HRD Congress in 2019. Ashish enjoys to conduct human resources, leadership, and motivational session with students, the academe, and corporate. Now, with no further ado, we would like to introduce to you our international speaker, the second in this year, Mr. Ashish Mittal, who will be discussing with us the future of employee experience. Hi, Ashish. Good morning.
Hi, very good morning, good afternoon to everyone.
Good
Ashish, we
afternoon.
will Ashish,
Yeah,
again, we would like to thank you for gracing our uh, program, the HR Cafe, and we are excited to your topic about the future of employee experience. We have almost 50 people live watching us right now, but I'm sure thousands more will be watching the replay as part of the historical data that we have, because we have team replays. These are the people who watch during their own time. But I'm sure all of the people that is watching us live right now is very excited for your discussion. So we will be giving you the floor, Ashish. We'll be on the
sure,
background, and we'll get back to you later at the Q&A.
sure. So, Tina, so Darwin, can I start now? Darwin, can I start now?
Yes, Ashish, you can
Darwin?
start now.
All right, okay. And Tina, just to confirm, you would be moving the slides, right? Tina, could you just please confirm if you would be moving the slides?
Yes, Ashish, I'm moving the slides, but you have to tell me next.
All right, sure. I'll definitely tell that. You can go to the full. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. So, very good afternoon to everyone. I really thank you for sparing your valuable time on a Sunday afternoon, and it means a lot. And I'm sure this session will help us to understand some of the employee experience perspective, the challenges as HR leaders we all face through, and what's the way ahead. What's the journey ahead? Could I have the next slide, please, Tina? Okay, the next. Okay. So here, just to begin with, we need to understand that what is exactly employee experience, because we are talking about post-COVID 2022. The entire focus, I repeat, the entire focus of all the CEOs, the managing director is on the EX. Employee experience is called as the EX. So it's basically a candidate's perceptions about his or her journey through all touch points, starting the job camp from the time when the person actually thinks of applying to a particular job in an organization. The next, Tina. The next team, yeah. So here, it would mean in terms of most of the time, organizations think that employee experience or engagement would actually typically begin after an employee joins, but that understanding is wrong. I repeat. So the right understanding is your employee experience right starts right from day one when an employee, like I mean, if Ashish is applying for an organization in Philippines, from the time I'm actually uploading my CV, that's starting my experience. From the time I'm starting to communicate, going through your website, trying to understand about your organization. If your website is kind of cranky and it's not updating, it's kind of slow and there are issues, it gives a very wrong perception to the candidate. So your experience starts right from day one when you are applying, the experience of the recruiters, because the recruiter is the first point of contact. Typically, the way they greet, the way they respond, the speed with which they respond, the accuracy, the professionalism maintained. We have seen it many times. A candidate is called 10 times for an interview with no clarity, or for that matter, you cancel the interviews, perpetually, one, two, three. It gives a very shabby experience. It gives an understanding that there is no sense of respect of time. And gone are the days when actually you are trying to control employees. Today, employees are equally trying to evaluate you as an employer, as a manager. So it's very important that we learn to respect, give a mutual respect to time at both ends. So it starts from right one, engagement, onboarding experience, one of the most important experience. How is an employee onboarded? I still know there are a lot of organizations, they have about 3 4 days of inductions, or some organizations which have just 30 minutes of induction. So the point is an onboarding experience of most, because you never get a second chance to create a first impression. So it's very important that we treat the employee with dignity, respect, keep the induction as crisp, as short as possible, as concise as possible, but at the same time covering in all the important rules and regulations of the organization, the do's and the don'ts. It's very important. Tomorrow we cannot penalize an employee. You have violated a rule. The employee will say, "You never told me. I was never told about it. Only after I've committed a crime, you're telling me it's a crime." So, point is, it's very important during onboarding session. Take them through the various policies, clarify their doubts, have a dialogue, have a conversation. It's not going to be a monologue, right? It has to be a dual. It's a two-way street communication. So, try to understand, clarify their doubts, make them comfortable, because it's the first 30 days, 60 days, and a person decides how long he or she is going to stick onto the organization depending on the way he or she is treated. Again, in terms of communication, the learning opportunities which are provided, so all the various touch points. So basically, an employee should feel that I'm excited to join. Wow, I want to get up and rush to the office today. That kind of the fire in the belly has to be there. That kind of enthusiasm, self motivation has to be there. I'm going to meet my friends, my colleagues, my manager, my teammates. So that kind of bubbling enthusiasm has to be there, and that's all typically the role of HR to ensure that we are driving the right cultural behaviors and the patterns in an organization. So employees should feel motivated. I'm joining, I'm onboarding, I'm succeeding, I'm growing, I'm being rewarded for my performance. Very important. Today are gone are the days of posted checks. We talk about appraisals, right? Typically we had the annual appraisals, but today that's kind of phased out. People want 2 minutes Maggie noodles. They want instant feedback. So that's the reason we have fortnightly meetings, fortnightly reviews, and monthly reviews. We are not going to wait towards the fag end of the year and then say, my dear friend, you did this, these are the expectations, whereas you performed like this. No, it's going to be every fortnightly so that the moment the person is going wrong or out of track, he or she can be brought back to the track. And an employee should feel that I'm championing the cause of my organization. Yeah, the next slide, please, Tina. The next, yeah. So most of the times here there is a slight confusion. Even as HR professionals, when I talk to them, they confuse between employee engagement and employee experience. But we should understand that these are not interchangeable terms and they have different connotation, different meaning altogether. So employee experience basically is the sum of the cultural, the physical, and the technological environment in an organization. The culture, are you open for a for a two-way conversation? Can I approach anyone? Is it too hierarchical? The physical environment, how are the hygiene factors in an organization, or are the employees provided the right technological tools to work? So this is the employee experience. And the next slide, please, Tina. Yeah. So employee engagement is basically it's driven by an organization. Employee experience is what an employee experiences, whereas employee engagement are very concrete, formal programs of an organization to engage the employee. So it's more of an employer centric when we do employee engagement initiatives, whereas employee experience is an employee centric. Here we're talking about employee engagement in terms of employee wellness. COVID has taught us the harder way that wellness is the number one sort of priority for all the HR leaders. Not only for that, today even when an employee wants to choose between employer A, B, and C, the wellness is a very important parameter. What kind of insurance coverage am I being provided? What kind of culture is there in an organization? Is it toxic work culture? Is there a proper work-life balance? So the employee wellness and what kind of medical facilities am I provided? So all these are important aspects. Then we have empowered employees. Today, employees feel motivated when they're empowered so they can take the right decisions. And how do they do that? Once an employee is taken through basically the vision and mission of an organization. So empowering employees is extremely important. Otherwise, they become a dummy, and over a period of time, it lead to talent drain. The workplace culture, we spoke about it. Career growth. It's very important that every employee has a clear career path. He or she should be able to see in a matrix that if I'm over here and if I deliver XYZ, I'm going to be here in the next 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 year, 2 years, 3 years. Gone are the days of hire to retire, right? Once upon a time we had that we hire a person and he retires with us. Those are history and today it's a mystery. So today we are talking about the people average tenure is, 2.5, 3 years max. So in that 3 year short span of time, as HR leaders, as HR professionals, we have a very important role to play to ensure that every employee has a clear career trajectory path. Brand alignment. It's again equally important that an employee is able to attach himself with the brand of the organization. He or she should feel proud. Wow, I'm working for such and such brand. We have the workforce data, social relations, extremely important again. We know that during the times of COVID, a lot of people had stress, people committed suicide, and so many things happened globally. But in organization where there is open communication channels, okay, where there are friends, interpersonal, we have interdepartmental friends, connections, it helps to people to relieve their stress. They could actually, most of the discussions happen over a cup of coffee, even cafeteria. So these things are extremely important. The cultures, the facilities which an organization is providing, employee rewards, reward and recognition, lesser spoken the better. You will realize the value of employee rewards and recognition once you do not do it. So it's equally important to recognize the employee reward at the right time, at the right place, and at the right forum. It's extremely important. Next slide, please, Tina. Okay. So here we are, in this particular slide, I was trying to understand and coverage actually an approach to enhance how do we try to increase the employee experience. The first and foremost, we should actually have a very open communication. Most of the times, I mean, let it be personal or even professional, the the differences of opinion, I mean, if you do RCA, the root cause analysis, okay, it would boil down to lack of proper communication. You would mean something, you want to mean something, you say something, and the person has understood something else. Or other words, sometimes there are managers who want to try and keep all the information with them confidential because of lack of job security. As a result, the subordinates have no clues why a manager is taking particular decisions, where the organization is going. So it's extremely important that you keep your team on the same page so that they're able to go along with the same speed. Connection, foster peer-to-peer connection. Collaboration, encourage collaboration with works, projects, interests, and hobbies. Again, collaboration would not only mean only official, but also at a personal level. Try to understand of every team member what their hobbies are, what are their likes, because once an employee feels that my personal interests, my personal hobbies are also taken care by an organization, then employee will feel more attached to an organization. Participation, ensure actively participation of employees with artificial intelligence not budgets and email notifications. Try to ensure that we have a very live culture, a very lively working place where employees are able to freely communicate with each other. The next slide, please. Okay, here I was just when I had a chat with Coach Darwin, and he mentioned, Ashish, you should speak. So 2 3 days back, I mean, I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I was going through these few slides and trying to understand what is actual meaning behind these slides. It's very important. So there's a particular employee who has been promoted, and the manager's writing on LinkedIn on the public wall. He says, "We are happy to announce David has scaled up the ladder and has been promoted from product manager to VP of a product." Now, this particular thing he could have done on an official email and sent it in one on one. That's one way. But it's very important that we recognize and reward our employees in public. You only chastise them, correct them one on one individually. Otherwise, because once you glorify them in public, once you make the announcement, there are two angles to it. It also gives the right message in an organization that yes, if I perform these few tasks, if I'm able to perform well, I will also be recognized in an open forum. So that will encourage and motivate an employee to give the best to the organization. Secondly, to the person who has achieved this hard work, he will be on the sky. I mean, he will feel so proud, he'll feel good, he'll feel valued and respected. In today's world, people want to see the concept of self-respect, the sense of respect of time, the sense of respect for what work he or she is contributing. So these kind of things will actually motivate employee a lot. The next, please, Tina. Okay, this I pulled it up just late last night. I had also visited the Philippines at Makati. We had an Infosys campus. I'm an ex-Infosyon. So this is an employee who has worked for 12 years at Infosys. I mean, today, if an employee is working for decades, it's something that really like a wow factor. And again, here I'm trying to say how an organization is promoting an employee. Okay, how an organization is showing their existing employees that look, my dear friends, if you are able to move on your career path, you're able to contribute to yourself and to your organization, you will be recognized, you will be glorified. So it's very important for organizations that they appreciate employees in a very open forum. The next slide, please, Tina. Okay, this is one of a slide which I just picked up again. How we welcome employees. Okay, there are a lot of posts actually on LinkedIn like this, but I was trying to understand what is the psyche behind this. Why are organizations doing that? And I'm able to see that a lot of youngsters, okay, they are extremely happy when they receive a bag, a goodie, a welcome letter. It could be even if the chocolate or something, a greeting card, and few goodies, water bottles and everything. So this in this particular case, the particular employee has written, "Thank you for such gifts, and I look forward to meet and contribute to the organization. It's TCS, Tata Consultancy Services." So the point is, it's actually on the day one, employees already committing, "I'm going to give my best shot." Now, how is that fire coming? How is that desire coming? Just because the organization has treated you properly with respect, with dignity, it's able to relate to your feelings and emotion. Today's generation want these kind of feelings and reciprocation. The next slide, please. There's yes, in India we had the Tatas, who were the first organization who took a decision that we will take care of all the families who are impacted with COVID, and if anybody dies, even to ensure that their children are graduated till about 10th standard, till the 10th grade, entire expenses will be taken borne by the organization. Now look at this. Now tomorrow, if I have to think that I have to join this particular organization, I say, "Wow, they take care of employees. Even if they pay me less, it's all right. Even if I have to work a little extra, stretch goals over the weekend, sometimes it's okay. But they are doing something for the society, for the larger cause." So today's generation again evaluate what is an organization doing to the employees and to the society at large, because that will actually give me a strong sense of commitment. And to my existing employees, it will reinstill the faith and the confidence. Yes, I have a very good management. No matter what may come, I will give my best shot, and I would love to work in this organization lifelong. The next slide, please. Okay, this is again, I just picked it up yesterday midnight from the Google, wherein a few new joinees had actually shared their experience and the way Google treated them actually. And the Google actually thanked them for sending these pictures and, the kind of the wow feeling which they had. The next slide. This is again with the University of British Columbia, UBC, wherein the vice dean is appreciating the employees. So he's saying that you're all the leaders to go, glad to work collaboratively with all of you. So again, it's collaboration. It's talking about collaboration. The next slide, please. Yeah. This is again, actually, I'm not able to read the slides. Just give me a second. I'll just put it over here. Yeah. So it's talking about that I'm really glad and honored to have received the most prestigious award within Accenture, ACE Award, Accenture Excellence Award, in the Skills Star Award category, financial year 22. Was truly amazed by the red carpet event and had a great time meeting all the other ACE winners of other departments in Accenture. Thank you, Accenture, Accenture in India, the leadership team, and Accenture management team for this recognition. Hard work, dedication, discipline, sacrifice truly pays off. Now, when this particular employee has been highly motivated and written this blog on LinkedIn, imagine so many employees who read this, that, oh wow, the hard work, discipline, dedication will be rewarded over here. So, how is an employee again rewarded? In an open forum on the global platform. So, the kind of enthusiasm will be extremely high. The next one, please. This is with the Northern Trust Bank, again trying to do some social, corporate social responsibility. So it says members from our wealth management technology team proudly partnered with the Night Ministry and packed 400 hygiene kits to be distributed to those experiencing homeless in Chicago. Northern Trust gives back. We spoke a few minutes back, giving back to the society. Today, the millennials, the Gen Z want to do something for the society, and when they feel an organization is not only making revenue for themselves but also helping others, they want to work for such an organization. These are the kind of some of the experiences, every single experience, every single day counts, because the moment an employee is treated badly, he or she will already start making plans to look out. So the other kind of, I just chose these examples where an organization is actually personally touching the hearts of several employees at a very personal level through these initiatives. Next slide, please. Okay. So we had one of the biggest concept here in India, a very big organization by name Dettol, who is actually manufacturing the antiseptic hand wash. So during COVID times, what they did was something phenomenal. Actually, it was the first time in the history of India we had a brand which did something different. What did they do that? Now, no organization till today ever replaced its logo. Along with the logo, they always had some changes here or there, but they never replaced their logo. Now, Dettol was very smart. I mean, it was a completely mastermind, and I really appreciate and thank them for this. So it says Dettol replaces its iconic logo with a picture of COVID protectors on 4 million packs. The next slide, please. Yeah. So it was the first time in the history that as a tribute to all the COVID-19 warriors, they replaced its logo. So what did they do here? They actually, this is a very diverse and inclusive mix of handpicked stories. They picked up small children, youngsters, mid-aged people and aged people who had done something different for the COVID. They took their stories, put their photograph on their Dettol antiseptic wash, and started, selling them in the market. Now, what happened during COVID times? We knew that everybody was going through a very tough phase. The sales were down. People did not have money. Organizations did not pay salaries to employees. But what did Dettol do? Through this initiative, they united the entire nation. And from a marketing sales point of view, automatically, if somebody's photo is there on this, they will purchase minimum 4 to 5 bottles of it. So imagine they've done throughout the country, they had the highest ever sales during COVID times. And more than anything else, they struck a very personal chord between the consumers and the brand. So what I'm trying to say is, as HR professionals, we need to do something like this. We need to ensure that there's a very personal connection and something very creative, which keeps an employee engaged in an organization. Today, why are the people glued onto the Netflix, Amazon Prime? Why? Because the content is very creative, it's very engaging. Okay, just like an app today, we have thousands of apps in the market. The moment you do not use an app, the product dies. So, and for an app to be, to ensure that it's very active, there has to be two-way communication between the user and the manufacturer. They need to understand and engage with the users. Similarly, as HR professionals, we need to engage with our employees, keep in touch with them, try to understand the undercurrents, their requirements, and how we can actually penetrate into that soft corner of their heart, so that we try to get a lifelong commitment to an organization. And also, it also gives us an input that some of the areas where we are not doing well, where we are going wrong, we correct ourselves. The next slide, please. Okay, this is again one of the slide wherein an organization says, please join us in celebrating Everest's Chief People Officer, Sheena Ponana, second consecutive win of annual Human Resources Online HR Leader of the Year award. Sheena's win of the accolade, which is awarded to leaders who have delivered instrumental change, reflects her leadership in building our people-first culture. So here I was very proud to see an organization is actually appreciating an HR leader for the qualities. For what? For leadership in building our people-first culture. That's very important. People first, which means it's not business first, it's not profit first, it's not clients first. people first culture. Congratulations, and your Everrise family is always proud of you. So I'm just saying, so these were some of the examples wherein organizations try to strike a personal chord and send the right message to the employees in an organization. Could we have the next slide, please? So there was a study done by Gartner which mentioned actually that employees that supported employees with their personal life experiences saw that at least there was a 20% increase in the number of employees reporting better mental and physical health. At the same time, a 21% increase in the number of high performers versus organizations that do not provide. So what it's trying to say is that try to engage employees with their life experiences. Now, for example, it would vary from region, country to country, the cultures, whatever it is. So I know a lot of organizations, they organize a hiking camp for their employees, a trekking camp, a get together, birthday celebrations, and for that matter, some sports, fun on the floor, various sessions. So unless and until you do not engage with the employee life experiences, uh, it's highly possible that we would lead towards a toxic work culture, because then there's no fun, right? It's only work, work, work. It becomes very dry, monotonous. And how do we handle these life experiences? What are some of the points? Let's see in the next slide. Could we have the next slide, please? Yeah. One more. Could you press one more? First and foremost, it's very important. That's enough. Thank you. First and foremost, very important that you set boundaries for timings. Today, I think organizations, or for that matter, many managers take their employees for a ride that you are at 24/7, you need to work. No, my dear friends, it's very important. In the beginning, you set boundaries. These are the official timings. Let's work sincerely and give our best shot. Because when you say that I'm not going to disturb you after office hours, an employee will, his inner conscious will say, hey, come on, Ash, I need to give my best shot. La. Let me do my, during my office hours, let me ensure all my work is completed to the best possible capacity where I can. So setting the boundary is important. Restrict employee hours. Only keep the employees in the organization to the time where they're required. Do not make them to work for extended hours. Once in a while is okay, but otherwise not on a daily basis. The next, instill flexibility for working parents. Now we need to be sensitive because we have different kinds of employees in your organization. There are bachelors, married people. So those are working parents. Once you have certain flexibility, it will help them, because if you say it's going to be hard coded, you need to report every day sharp 9 a.m. and sharp 4:30 p.m. or 5:30 p.m. you need to log out. Trust me, it's not going to work. There could be situations where a parent has a parent-teacher meeting in the school. There could be sudden death. There could be some emergency, medical emergency, personal emergency, various aspects. It's very important for the working parent, because both the husband and spouse, husband and wife, are literally working. So there will be certain challenges which he or she has to handle. So if we have a flexibility, it helps our employee to absorb these challenges. The next, please. Working remotely, you should always have an option. Of course, now it's the other way around. We're trying to get our employees back to an organization, but initially it was that we also, but still there are organizations today trying to ensure force to employees that all of you have to come to the organization. And I would say actually this would completely depend on the type of business a particular employee is into it. If there are certain areas where he or she can work from home and have the same contribution, why not have this flexibility model? The next, please. Again, work outside the office as well. It's at times, it gives an employees a very fresh air, fresh perspective. You can go to a lawn somewhere, and don't have to work completely always in the four walls. Sometimes that could actually get very claustrophobic and very locked for the employees. The next, please. Most important point: trust employees. Now, if you look at the word, this trust is very important, because, and it works in every relationship: employer-employee, husband-wife, father-mother, friendship. If there is no trust in the relationship rusts. So it's very important. And if you do not trust your employees, do not hire them. There is no point then you're trying to do micromanagement and you don't trust them. It's going to be leading to a lose-lose situation, an unpleasant experience for an employee, an unpleasant experience for the manager, an unpleasant experience for all the employees around. So it's very important. We should learn to trust our employees. The next slide. Encourage vacation time. We do not want that, round the clock and appreciate the people who are working 365 days a week. Actually, I'm dead against it. I say take time off, spend time with your family. If you do not have anyone, go travel, do some painting, pursue your hobbies. But it's very important that you spend your me time so that you are able to actually refresh yourself and come back with double the energy and contribute back to the organization. So as managers, we should always encourage in an organization to employees to have to take the required vacation every year. Get physical. Get physical, I meant like when I have meetings with my team members, I say, okay, come, let's go for a walk. I don't want to sit and have a kind of conversation over a table, very formal. Let's walk. So it's actually helps people to have a good health. And also, there is sort of, very open-ended conversation, because sometimes in a room it's very formal, but in walking across over the campus, it can be very informal. But yes, physical also helps people to actually open out their heart and talk to you whatever they want to. The next. Flexibility. And the next last one, you can also play that, please. It's flexibility and empower employees. So it's extremely important that you give flexibility to your employees and also empower them, because these are all the various points through an employee goes through a life cycle, which will actually decide he or she has to stay in the organization and how long he or she has to stay in the organization. The next slide, please. So leaders have to lead with a smile, lead with your heart, and show that you truly care. See, it's very important. Leaders have to lead with a smile. You enter your office with a frown face, tension, pressure, finished. You've killed the entire spirit of the team. Then you're not a leader. Yes, you may have personal problems. You may have personal challenges, but try to have a smile on the face. Try to differentiate between your personal and professional life. Try to balance your emotions. We talk about IQ, then we talk about EQ, the emotional quotient. How well you can balance your emotions as well as the emotions of people around you. And people would always like to see someone who's smiling. Okay, they don't want to see someone with a frowny face entering the office. No ways. You don't like to see someone who's very bubbly, cheery, a lot of smile, a lot of energy, enthusiasm, passion, So your positivity, you should actually radiate a lot of positivity when you walk itself, when you walk and greet people in the morning. The next, please, yeah. Build deep relationships. What I meant with this was, there's no point having superficial level of relationships. Absolutely no point. It's very important for middle level managers to know not only their employees, but also know their personal life. Who is their wife, they're married, their children, their parents, what are their hobbies, what they like, what they don't like. So when you have a very deep relationship, your understanding, trust, and faith is extremely strong. So that which actually portray you as a very strong leader. Thirdly, be true and transparent. Call spade a spade. There are times, even in my own team, people do not do a job properly. I call and tell them very politely and clearly, dear, this is not acceptable. These are the standards. I'd given you your key result areas. I'd explained you, had documented. Now, this is something which is not acceptable. So my point is, do not try to camouflage. Do not try to beat around the bush. Be upfront. And at the same time, someone has done a good job, immediately give the recognition. Do not think, because that can get into biased stage later. So try to give the appreciation and be true and transparent. That will help you to be a successful HR leader throughout your career. The next slide. So here we should know something. What's the difference between important and urgent? Everybody wants work to be closed as of yesterday. It's not as of today, but as of yesterday. Ashish, I need this report immediately in the next 15 minutes, in the next 30 minutes, immediately in the next 1 hour. So as a leader, we should be able to differentiate, okay, fine, there is something urgent, but it is not important. There is something important, but it is not urgent. When your team members know that your leader is able to discriminate between these two terms, you will get their unflinching support and faith round the clock. Even in my personal experience, I've seen there have been situations at night, 11, 12 a.m. in the morning, I may get a call, Ashish, something urgent data for a board meeting. We missed this particular point. I call up my team member. They know it's Ashish will not call just casually. There must be something important, and they attend to the work. But if we do not differentiate between these two, you're not going to cut the mustard at all. People lose faith in you as a leader and as a boss. The next, please. Be an empathetic coach. Do not give instructions. I repeat, do not try to give instructions my way or highway. Everybody is going through tough phase of life. We need to understand we are all human beings. We are not microchips, right? You run a program and it's done. We have feelings, emotions. We all have good days. We have bad days, right? We have mood swings. And probably someone has not done something. We should stop being judgmental, because that's something which can derail your entire understanding. So try to, even if a person has something which is abnormal behavior, try to take him for a cup of tea, coffee, or a walk and ask him, are you okay? You want some help? Because this is not your something, usual behavior. I observed something unusual in you. Is everything all right at home? Is there something very bothering you? So try to be a coach. People will respect you for lifelong. Forget about the organization. So try to be in this coach we have, so that will help a lot. Next, please. And add some laughter. It's extremely important, because if you're only serious throughout the day with no jokes, nothing, finished, it's going to become very dry. In the HR, I can talk since an HR fraternity in the four walls. When we have all HR guys sitting, we cuss everybody under the sun. How we could do that? How we could do this? I tell my team, it's okay. Burn out your frustration. Bring it out. Remove it out. Don't worry. It's okay. It's only within the four walls here. Only HR guys are here to hear. So at the same time, you want to crack jokes. You want to do it, because when you crack jokes, it helps to release the right hormones. It helps people to de-stress themselves. It helps the people to keep up their motivation and continue to the work. And the next slide, please. There are also a study done by the University of Western Australia, which says happy people are more active, more productive, and get less upset by the work. Extremely important. We all are working in a high stress environment today. All of us around all over the globe. But happy people are more active because they know how to de-stress themselves, more productive because they know that I should not get bogged down by all these silly things. It's not worth it. And get less upset by the work. They know on the right things on which they need to get upset. Yeah. The next slide, please. So these were some of the few employee experiences and challenges, and are we prepared? The next, please. The study done by Gallup here, which states that employee engagement decreased by 2 points from 22% in 19 to 20% in 2020. And lack of engagement cost the global economy USD 8.1 trillion in lost productivity each year, according to Gallup. So it's extremely important. It shows that even by few points, what's the impact on my top line as well as my bottom line revenue, and the importance of employee engagement. All these are connected to the employee experiences. If you're not connected, if you're not engaged with the employees, forget about employee, look at the financial losses you are contributing to your organization. The next slide, please. This particular slide just shows that there's a dip from 22 to 20. And it says that employee engagement reflects the involvement and enthusiasm of employees in the workplace. Business units with high employee engagement achieve higher productivity, higher customer loyalty. So, the seriousness of it comes onto the boardrooms, that employee engagement cannot be taken lightly. And if you take it lightly, you'll have to pay the price in your balance sheet. As simple as that. The next slide, please. So these are some of the employee challenges in 2022, and if at all, we are prepared. So enhancing employee engagement is the remote hybrid workplace. We're talking about 17% higher productivity, 21% higher profitability, and 81% higher customer satisfaction. And in today's times, we're talking about data-led approach to create more meaningful and holistic experiences. We are trying to have engagement initiatives which can be measured. It's not open in the air. It's not just randomly I'm shooting arrow in the sky. I'm going to launch employee engagement initiatives where I can tangibly measure the ROI to the business. The next slide, please. So the next slide says, improving productivity and aligning IT to employee experience and business goals. The next, please. Again, the one of the biggest functions, the biggest expense. No, the previous one, please, if you don't mind. I had a slight explanation. So we're saying the IT teams, the infrastructure, the information technology teams, they're actually spending millions of dollars in technology. But are these technologies mapped to my employee experience? Today, we may talk about various ERPs running all over the world. You may use Oracle, you may use SAP, you may use SuccessFactors. Various ERPs are available. But if they're not aligned to my employee needs, it's defeating the purpose. Today, an employee should be able to apply a leave just using his mobile app, Android or iOS, anything, and it should not take more than 30 seconds, 20 seconds max. If it's taking more time, it's hanging, you lost the game again. So it's very important that you align all the IT expenses in tune with the employee's needs. The next, please. Yep. The next, yeah. So we could just run on all the 3 points, please, Tina. So we're talking about managing employee life cycles in the remote geo-distributed workplace, comprehensive performance analysis, understanding employee expectations and satisfaction. So here we see that the employee satisfaction rose up by 37% with the help of employee support initiatives that go beyond financial reward. It's not always the money which counts. Money is important, yes, but there are a lot of engagement initiatives, a lot of activities where you can still engage, appreciate, and reward your people for the right work, which does not have finance or money as the only factor, but there are various other channels. So understanding employees' expectations and actually trying to map your strategy, business strategy, HR strategy along with that will help you to get the buy-in from all the employees. The next slide, please. So if we're talking about the 5 keys to enabling positive employee experience, there are positive and negative employee experience. Some organizations don't care, they just kind of work, hire people, and try to get them max whatever they can. So that's what called negative employee experience. So that's the reason those organizations have a very high rate of attrition. Here, the 5 keys are individualized data-led approach, improve digital employee experiences, the second one. Third is optimized onboarding to reduce attrition, we covered earlier. Personalized touchpoints and promotion of the feedback culture, extremely important. Now, how we get this feedback is actually when you talk to people, when you organize town halls, seminars, meet your leader sessions, when you have a very open forum, encourage feedback. Through feedback, you get to know actually the areas where you're going wrong, and it also helps your SWOT analysis, things which you should continue to do well, something which is very well acknowledged and appreciated by your employees. Lastly, accurate cutting-edge compensation system, because you need to be ensure that your compensation strategy, your compensation package is aligned with the industry needs, so that you know where to pick. And you need to push a 10% ahead of the what's given the market is offering. But if you are kind of not doing a proper compensation benchmarking activity and just randomly paying salaries, it will create an entire chaos in the organization. The next slide, please. So I was going through this McKinsey study again late last night, yesterday, and I was trying to see some of the interesting graph that by the end of Q4 of the 2020 financial year, the lot of economies, especially the consumer goods and the wholesale and retail, is going to grow in Philippines. Okay, so I saw that it's slowly coming back to track after COVID. But I was also thinking, while there's going to be again a boom from 2020 to 2022, but are we as HR leaders, are we prepared to understand what our employees need? Because we need to understand the needs of an employee pre-COVID were different from post-COVID period. The landscape has changed drastically. Today, employees know that I can contribute by working from home. I don't have to go to the office. Who the hell is anyone to call me around the clock? Because, for example, if you call, a developer or a iOS developer, Android or a Node.js full stack developers, they can as well sit in their house and give their best shot and still get the work done. The point is, these situations were not heard during pre-COVID times. If at all they were heard, it was completely minority. The next slide, please. So, what are some of the future work trends are? The hybrid has become the mainstream and not a substream, because where companies were contemplating, debating to have 2D, 3D model. 2D, 3D model is 2 days work from home or 3 days in office or vice versa. Or you work 4 days a week or you work 3 days a week. So ultimately, organizations have understood that it's only hybrid which is going to work. And the survey again, which was done by Gartner, found, the next slide, please, that more than the next slide, please, Tina. Thank you. That more than 75% of the employees want hybrid. And if you say that all my employees have to come to the office every day, you are at the risk of losing 39% of your workforce. So these numbers are really alarming, especially double alarming to the HR leaders, because we know how difficult it is to fill each and every position. We know how much pressure we are all working under it. Internal pressures, external pressures, all kinds of pressures. So it's very important as HR leaders, we try to have the right policies in the organization, which leads to a win-win situation at all the stakeholders, at the employees, management, as well as the HR folks. The next, please. And how do we resolve this hybrid workers? We should actually create a new human-centric model for the hybrid environment by designing employee-driven flexibility, culture connectedness, and human leadership. We do not want a leadership which is in silos. We don't want leadership which is once in a blue moon or something which is out of the world. A very human, personalized leadership is something which is required, which is actually required the need of an hour. Culture connectedness. It's not artificial. I'm sending mails, HR is sending mails together. I'm doing a lot of engagement surveys and everything. That's okay. But are you really connected to the culture of them? Are you really to the likes and dislikes of all your employees? Do you even have the data, first of all, with us? A question mark. Again, employee-driven flexibility. That how do we actually, as HR leaders, how do we fix the various parameters, promotion, KRAs, the goals, considering this flexibility model, which was never heard earlier. These are some things which we all have to work. The next slide, please. So we're talking here about the shortage of critical talent. Critical talent. Then next, there are three things which you can just run through, Tina. Thank you so much. So here, trying to talk about optimized costs, because we have seen that during COVID time, there has been a lot of attrition. I mean, once people have come to work, that especially in the technology space, a lot of attrition. In India here, I remember, I have a lot of live cases. A person with just 4 years of work ex, okay, he was drawing about 500,000 INR, is now demanding 1.2 million INR in one financial year. I mean, the compensations have dramatically, erratically changed. So what happens is there is a lot of pressure for HR leaders. How do we fill these openings? So what we need to broaden the range of talent strategies. How do I do that? Is we have something called IJP, internal job posting. Try to mobilize and encourage the talent within, homegrown talent within my organization, so that I'm able to develop an internal labor market or internal pipeline to feed up my senior positions. So this critical talent, because the HR leaders are always under pressure. One way, you have a high cost and the candidates are demanding high salaries, and we do not have those budgets in the organization. So what do we do? At the same time, business has to run. We need to hire the right people at the right time. So we are really under tremendous pressure to fill the positions, the right talent at the shortest possible time at the right cost, which an organization can afford. So The shortage of critical talent has to be dealt with very seriously. The next slide, please. We're talking here is about employee well-being. Yeah. The next slide. Yeah. So we're talking about employee well-being is a key metric. So again, what are the drivers of this well-being are social connectedness. It could have festival, events, job satisfaction, how happy or unhappy is an employee in while performing a job, financial security to ensure my salaries are paid at the month and every single month without any reminders, without any delay, even by one single day. Emotional health, physical health. We have all heard of physical health. Physical health organization taking care of gyms, and they're trying to have subsidized food, healthy foods which are available, having employee health checkups. These are all physical health. But what about mental health? Is the emotional health. Now we are under stress, under pressure, we are under depression. Do we have counselors? Okay, do we have counseling sessions at the campus? Do we have a psychiatrist? So are we able to do we have a mentor mentee system? Do we have, suppose somebody is feeling very down, can he or she walk up to anybody who is experienced and who can guide them? So emotional health is extremely important. The next slide, please. So here we are saying that employee well-being has to be part of your EVP to attract and retain talent. Because, as I said, in today's post-COVID times, most of the employees are looking how safe, how well will I be treated in the organization, and what is the kind of working culture, what are the kind of medical, physical benefits which he or she can get. So these things, if you are able to actually map them, they can be as a strong EVP. It will help you to retain even your existing employees. The next slide, please. So here, while we're talking about hybrid working, remote working, we had work from home, we had work from office, WFA, WFH, and then we had WFA, work from anywhere. Ultimately, what is required is deliverable and outcomes. So how do I do this? Now, another one thing actually, which is parallel running with this hybrid work culture is that the diversity, equity, and inclusivity outcomes could actually get challenged. How? Could you have the next slide? All the three, please. So here we are saying that 76% of the managers say the on-site employees are more likely to be promoted than people who are working remotely. So point here is, here there are challenges. Suppose somebody, 10 employees are coming to the office, that those people could get importance, they could get recognition, they could get promotion. At the same time, there are a lot of women who are having to deal with children, or they could be single parents and deal with parents and family issues. So a woman employee in high possibility, sometimes there could be a lot of situations where she's more comfortable to work at home so that she's able to manage her family life and her personal life. So again, proximity bias could become a recipe for inequity, that just because I'm not able to come to the office every single day, or I'm able to come only twice a week due to the proximity, that could. So my point is that diversity, equity, and inclusivity, actually it could get more and more challenging. And as HR leaders, we need to properly define the metrics, how we are able to have a very unbiased culture in an organization. The next slide, please. Again, one of the future trend is the turnover will definitely increase. You can actually just turn next. There are three, which is, yeah, two more. Yeah. So you're saying that 52% of employees say flexible work policies will affect the decision to stay at the organization, which means half of your entire organization, half of your employee strength is saying flexible work policies. If you make it very rigid, hard-coded, a clear no, you're going to lose all employees. So you have to be flexible. So connect hybrid employees to the organization culture, invest in talent process to expand employee networks. So the point is, these things were unheard during pre-COVID times. But if we today choose of not offering this flexibility, you are likely to lose half of an entire employees. So which means we know the importance of flexible work policies. The next slide, please. Here we're talking about how managers' roles are changing. Earlier, pre-COVID times, a manager given, okay, these are the goals, they are deliverables, get the job done. But today, could you have the next three more forwards? Yeah, thank you. So here we're saying that a manager has to, because today any attrition happens, it's due to the lack of connect between the line manager and the mid-level manager and his direct employee and his direct subordinates. So as HR leaders, we need to ensure that we train these mid-level managers to develop the right relationships with their team members, because it is the manager-employee relationship which will shape the employee experience and connection to the org. Because today managers are not bothered about their subordinates, finished. Again, they're going to quit the organization. There is nobody to share their feelings, no one to share, appreciate them, reward them, or coach them, or give them a feedback. So we have to use managers, train them so that they in turn can actually treat our employees properly, run the organization properly, and give the right kind of employee experience. Next slide, please. Um, this is again my favorite slide. So we're talking about multi-gen, and we have some organizations could also have all the 7 generations. And typically, there are a lot of organizations which have 4 to 5 generations working at the same time. Now, this is a huge, huge, huge challenge. I mean, psychologically, none of us probably are very comfortable to work or report to a person who's 10 years younger than me. I mean, I'm talking about psychologically. I mean, it may not kind of sink in easily. While some of us will be open and we are open, but yes, the majority, it could be question mark. So again, the aspiration of each and every generation is completely different. If you take about your generation X, the Gen X, they just want some simple life security, a simple job, and okay. Millennials, the Gen Zs, they want instant gratification. You tell them, I'll give you some amount after 2 years, 3 years, they get lost. Ashish, I don't even want to accept your offer. Tell me how are you going to reward my performance in the next 6 months or 1 year? Let's have a conversation. If not, please don't waste my time. The requirements. So my point is, as HR leaders, what kind of policies do I form? Because policy is something which is going to cut across all the employees. And when your employees are from different generations, so you have to very creatively tailor make your HR policies to ensure you motivate everybody. Somebody in a generation X, the Gen Y, would prefer a good insurance plan, good retirement benefits. Whereas a millennial or a Gen Z would want immediate. Okay, you give me a MacBook instead of a laptop. You give me an iPhone. You give me, like 1 month vacation off. So how do you balance this? It's extremely important. But and the Gen Z wants in-person work experiences, because these are the people who have actually right after studies they have entered into the work area and they're working remotely. So their aspirations, I have spoken to a lot of them. They say, Ashish, actually, I want to come back to the office. I want to learn the experience, life skills. I want to actually see how it is to disagree with a person, and or have a Google chat or Hangouts. It's different. But when you talk face to face, when you have different opinion in the inter departments, so how do we handle this? So Gen Z is looking for in-person work experiences. How, as HR leaders, how we are able to incorporate these experiences. The next slide, please. So it's saying you should pay attention to their requirements post-pandemic, because these guys have never experienced. It's only theoretical knowledge they have, but now they want a practical knowledge. The next slide, please. The next, you can actually, yeah. Now we are talking about with the high cost, high pressure, shorter timelines to fill the gap. So as HR leaders, what do we do? Do we have a choice? Very limited choice. So can we increase the organization budgets? Most unlikely, no. Can you try to satisfy and negotiate with your candidates? There's no ways. You are giving X, they want 10X. So what do we do? So some of the ways, again, out of creativity, shorter work weeks are a new EVP, because the labor market is competition, the high inflation are putting high pressures on the compensation. What do we do? How do we balance between life and work? The next slide. So here we are looking at basically to introduce 4-day work week and try to tell the management and the employees How 4-day week will actually could lead to higher productivity, improved efficiency, better work-life balance. The person has time to spend at his hobbies or do his personal jobs. Or for that matter, we had about 15 days back, organization in India had started their moonlighting policy. Moonlighting policy is basically where an employee is allowed to work after the office hours for another employee. Typically, it's already happening in terms of medical doctors or lawyers. They work for multiple clients. But today, the trend is changing. We got the gig economy, right? Today, no one wants to be hired as a full-time employee. They said, they say, Ashish, please hire me on a contract based. I want to be billable on an hourly basis. I will deliver what you want. So people want to work for 3 hours in probably two organizations, three organizations in a day. The mindset has changed. So with the moonlighting concept coming up, where it was Swiggy actually, which said, okay, after office hours, you are aligned. You guys can actually work somewhere else also and earn some money. So these kind of things, I mean, we have to be very alert to what the requirements of my employees are. Better work-life balance, more teamwork, and 20% lower heads for the management. So we need to tell as HR people, when you have a 4-day week, the management is also going to get benefited by your OPEX, your operation cost is going to be much lesser because you're not turning on your aircons, your transport, your food, pantry, housekeeping, everything. Those days expenses are going to come down. The next slide, please. So here I'm actually just going to summarize in terms of how do we improve the employee experience in the current year. It's the next point, please. Here, first important, have one-on-one conversation with your employees. Try to understand what they want, what their expectations are, what you can meet, which of the expectations you can meet, which you cannot meet. Recognize and reward timely, we have covered. Respect work-life boundaries, we have covered. Could actually cover the next, run the next points, please, Tina. Invest in mental health initiatives. Make your employees feel celebrated. It's very important. Somebody completes a year, 2 year, 3 years, celebrate it. Most of the times, we realize the value of employees, or we, I'm talking about organizations, realize the value of employees only when they put down their papers, when they've resigned. And to add on to the fury, just before the last 2-3 working days is done, the management will wake up. Hey, Ashish, let's do something for it. And we've been reminding for months together, weeks together, this is a very important resource. We cannot lose it. Let's have a conversation and close. No. Only when an employee resigns, we call an employee, oh, we are doing a fantastic job. You're an asset to a family. You're part of a family. You're a genius. It's completely crap. Please, we should all learn to celebrate our employees as and when they deliver. Do not wait for the red cards. Do not wait for the exit doors, because that's one of the worst ways to retain an employee. It's like a slap that, you don't recognize. And just because the employee is put down, you're trying to kind of negotiate to save your business, not the employee again. So it's very important to make your employees feel celebrated. The next, please. Provide competitive benefits and rewards. The next, you can just run down. There are 9 points. Promote transparent work environment so that everybody is aware of what's happening around the organization. Empower your employees to make decisions. Offer learning opportunities and continuous education. Very important. Today's generation want to learn a lot. They want to work. They want to choose an employer which will enable them to enhance their skills. Today, Coursera has started with a lot of corporates. A lot of certifications are available. So people would want to learn and grow, and because that's something which is the need of an hour, which the employees are looking forward to. So you should always ensure that you're providing learning opportunities for people to grow, because it's only then you will be able to actually give the right employee experience and also retain employees. The next slide, please. So what is the future of employee experience? Could we have next? There are 4 points here. Now, just like the picture, actually, you see my employee. If I look at this picture, they're so happy. I'm tempted with looking at this picture. That's the reason I put it over here. They're so happy. They're connected. I mean, there is bonding. There is chemistry between all 4 of them. The facial. Face is the index of the mind. You can't cheat, right? You may mentally cheat, but your body language can't cheat. So I was very impressed with this picture. That's the reason I actually selected this. So the leaders need to be equipped with the right technology to cope with drastically transformed employees' expectations. So you can't have an outdated, redundant technology in your organization which is lagging and hanging and not working, people get pissed off. Right culture needs to be able to thrive in hybrid work environments. I mean, I'd say today, even the concept of boss is more or less getting diluted. It's a question of working together as peers, as colleagues, as mentors, as coaches. We're all working in that mindset. When we work, it's not that, okay, I'm a CHR, I'm heading, and you are my report is subordinate. No ways. We're all open to concept of lifelong learning. We can learn from any simple person, a driver on the driving on the road, or a person walking on the road, or anyone for that matter. We can learn from anyone and everyone. So have a very open culture, where everybody is able to talk and express their views and opinions, even if you do not like them. HR policies need to include compassion, humanity, and unbiased attitude and a sense of belonging. Employees' mental health, well-being, safety should be the top priority. The next slide. So here we're saying the shift has to move to an employee experience mindset. Again, I'm talking the shift of the top management. Okay, it has to be of the employee experience. So amazing customer experiences are not accidental. We know some of the best products can be Apple or various products in different countries. They give some of the best experiences, but why? Does it happen just coincidentally, accidentally? No. They are well thought, well planned, methodical, which they utilize human-centered design techniques. We have design thinking, right? The buzzword now, design thinking. So as in terms of employee experience, we need to use design thinking to find out the right kind of requirements of my employees and pass on to the management so that we are able to implement. Create experiences which our employees crave. They're waiting for it. Try to create those experiences. What are these? Empathetic. Support me with caring for myself and what matters in my life, not your life. Try to look at the hobbies of individuals, how I can actually. So when you have, say, an employee headcount of say about 500 or 1,000 people, try to do some engagement survey and find out what their hobbies are. Try to bucketize them and try to see how you can actually include them in some of your organization policies, recreation activities, so that employees feel involved. Enriching, help me learn, grow, and have an impact with what I can do. So help me to grow. Just don't dump work. I also want to upgrade myself. I want to learn. So give that platform to your employees. Embracing, make me feel like belong and can bring my whole self to the work. Very important is to align the employees with the vision and mission of the organization. Because if they're not aligned, then you're on a different track altogether. So very important that we keep our employees aligned as to what are the requirements, where we are heading, what our goal sheets are, what my yardsticks are, and which direction. Everything, just keep them aligned. And lastly, efficient. Provide with frictionless work environment. Try to give them an environment where they can work smoothly and efficiently. The next slide, please. So you're saying a focus on employee experience is good for business. This is for the management. How I sell to my management is like this very clearly. I say, look, if you give a management, if you invest on employee experiences, employee engagement, do not think as an expense. Use this amount as an investment in your employees. Because once you have a good employee experience, they will work. Your existing employees will be motivated. They will refer other employees, and we will also impact. It has a direct positive impact on your business. How is that? Increased engagement, 2x innovation. If a person is a kind of very trouble, if an organization is troubling an employee, forget about innovation. He can't even work. He can't even do his job. What is required. So when employees are taken care of, they're able to think innovative. They're able to think creatively. 4x more profitable, 2x customer satisfaction, CSAT, and enhanced brand image in the market. The next slides, please. So you're saying changing the way we invest in our employees will yield a greater return for the business far into the future. So please do not look as an expense on your employees. Look at it as an investment in your employees. The next slide. So it's time to think how we solve employees issue by putting people at the center of the heart of the design. Don't put money, client, business. Put people. Ultimately, it's like the people who are actually representing an organization, who's actually making an organization. It's not the buildings or the buses or the vehicles or the infrastructure. No, it's the people who are the assets of the organization, and we need to take care of them. The next slide, please. So here I've just put about 4 or 5 quotes here that in order to build a rewarding employee experience, you need to understand what matters to your people. Because if you don't even understand what matters to your people, I mean, what are you doing actually then? So very important to understand what your people want and then map your strategy accordingly. The next, please. The internal customer experiences determines the external customer experience. The way you treat your employees is the way your employees will directly treat your customers. Trust me, this is a matter of fact. I treat my employees like a piece of shit. They'll treat my customers like a piece of shit into 2x. So even as business leaders, I need to understand that it's not a joke. I cannot take it lightly. Improve your employees' lives so that they can improve your customers' lives. One more, two more there. The first day, week, and the month of an employee's experience carries an everlasting impression. You never get a second chance to create a first impression. So it's very important. First day, first week, first month of an employee. It's like a tender, a child just born. You take extra care. Highly engaged employees make the customer experience. Disengaged employees break it. Period. End of story. It's self-explanatory. Highly engaged employees make the customer experience. And if you don't keep your employees engaged, finished. It's gone. The last slide. Yeah. So this comes to the end of my presentation, and I would really like to thank you for your time. And I would love to have a very interactive session. If you have any questions, any clarification, any difference of opinion, any suggestions, please feel free to share them. And I'm actually looking forward to that. Yeah. So if there are any questions or any comments by anyone, any points you disagree or agree, something which strike you, please feel free to share them.
All
Ashish,
right.
let me, Ashish.
Yes, 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 Darwin.
Let me start the ball rolling for the question. What is your opinion on what's happening right now in some industries where employees are hostage employers because they do not want to go back to the office and they are directing management or the employers to allow them just to work at home when management or employers are already asking the employees to return to work. I feel that there is a certain um, negative impact since the employees are not understanding why the employers want them to go back on site, but nevertheless the employees are saying that if you ask me to go back on site, I'll just resign and move to another company. So I think there's some sort of a blackmail or some sort of a being hostage by this particular talents because of the new normal that has happened.
Absolutely. So yes, Darwin, definitely. I mean, that's actually a very tricky situation for the organization today, and I think we have to take a very mixed approach, as I mentioned during my presentation as well, that it has to be a very blended approach depending on the nature of the business. See, today, if some work can be done at home, I think organizations have to have that kind of flexibility because it is today. It's not a question of employee A. Tomorrow you'll hire B. He'll also demand the same thing. If I can deliver the same work for you from home, why are you asking me to come to your organization? So my point is again, we should probably look at a very blended mode wherein they come at least twice a week in the organization. So we have a face-to-face meeting, interaction with team members, and 3 days from home. So that I think these kind of flexible models are the ones which will actually help us to sustain and retain. Because only work from home not possible, only work from office not possible again. So what is possible is a very blended and a mixed approach is my viewpoint. But at the same time, there are certain functions which would need all employees to come to the organization, and there are no two ways about it. Manufacturing, if you take a line, employees, people have to come. I mean, we can't have the supply chain management, the manufacturing, it will impact the industry. So depending on the type of industry and the business, a decision will have to be taken. Is my views,
Um, what we're seeing is that there are certain departments, for example, the support group. can do a hybrid setup, but those in operations cannot. And those in operations will say that we feel that it's not right since other departments are doing hybrid or other departments are still working at home while we're being kept to work on site. But nevertheless, Ashish, for those who are working at home or has granted working at home, would you say that employers should still support these workers with regards to their electricity, internet, or utilities, since these are being work is being done at home, or it should be a win-win scenario for both employers and employees?
So what we are looking, it should be ultimately leading to a win-win situation. My point is, if a person is compensated sufficiently, then we do not have to get into the concept of internet and other expenses, because there is no end to such a laundry list. Is my views. Somebody will ask laundry, I mean internet, somebody will ask X and Y, and it's a breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, depression, I want medical expenses, and the list goes off. I mean, as an HR leader, I feel it's better to compensate an employee rather than getting into all these nitty-gritties, because that's unending list, and we'll spend our time on transactional matters rather than handling the matter at a strategic level. So I would say,
Uh, Ashish,
sure.
do you think that there has been a change? A lot of people are complaining. A lot of HRs are complaining. They're saying that the employees of decades ago, or the way that they were trained decades ago, at that time, the outfits were a lot more formal. They were more respectful to their managers. They complained a lot less. They whined a lot, way less. Like, people nowadays get away with so many things that would have gotten you fired a long time ago. And a lot of companies are being said you have to change because otherwise it's so hard to recruit. But up to when do you actually give in? Because sometimes, you do, if companies do not really monitor this, like, people can just go in pajamas, they can talk whatever they want, they can set their own rules, they can demand like, where do you actually draw the line where the employee experience is balanced, but at the same time the needs, the what do you call it, the what's important to the organization is still there? Because it's now becoming more like a charity, on you have to make the person happy, but sometimes at the expense of the entire organization, until the organization, that's what's happening with a lot of startups. They get a lot of funding, the owners have so much money, they build a huge playroom, nobody gets to working, and then the startup dies in within like 3 to 5 years. And I was like saying, well, you know
Yeah.
it's, in a way, it's
Yes,
not being a good steward as well, because you're not making company so that it can die. You're not making company so people will just have fun. It's not Kizuna Inc. So where do
absolutely.
we draw the line in employee experience? Because there's a saying, once you give a hand, everybody asks for an arm. Once you give an arm, everybody asks for the body. And all of the things that you give away entails expense, which the company might not be able to maintain in the long run. And
Absolutely.
the company has to close down. What's your opinion on that?
Sure. So, Tina, what I would like to say, see, when I'm talking about employee experience, it's extremely important that we understand employee experience from business angle as well. Okay, it's just
Mm,
not kind of giving the goodies or the benefits to employees. I also, as an HR leader, I need to understand what is my business impact of doing it and not doing it. If I give an
mm,
employee X, how will this benefit be perceived by the rest of my employees? Point number one. Point
mm,
number two, what kind of message do I want to send down the lane to my employees?
mm.
That, okay, I'm allowing this guy to come in pajama, and that's the message I'm giving, that any, I mean, you want to pick one piece, two piece, three piece, whatever you want to do it. So it's very important that as HR leaders, when we are driving this employee experiences policies, we try to kind of balance in such a way that it's taking a very moderate path, that I'm not kind of depriving people who are, I'm kind of working in the office every day. At the same time, people who are going to work remotely, So it's a very thin line, and I think the policy would strongly be determined by the nature of business, location,
Mm,
geography, and the cultural and the demography of my employees. I mean, what is
mm,
their age group? I will see. Today, if I have age group say between 30 and 40, then I know okay, these people, I mean, they have something different requirements. 40 to 50 have different. So my point is, these things have to be crafted at a very
core,
business
yeah.
that way, because
Mm,
definitely we do not want to, we are all here to for the business to grow. How at the
mm,
same time, but not at the sacrificing our employees. Along with our employees, we need to grow our business, and that's our job here. That's why we are paid the
mm,
salaries. Now I know it's very tough, but the ball is in our court today. So what I typically do is I try to understand for a particular line of business, I make a particular policy that fine, if for my example I have an IT line of business, you guys can work come 3 days a week, and remaining 2 days you work from home, as long as I'm getting my Excel sheets in terms of my deliverables. Your KRA goal sheets are documented. I want it documented deliverables, very simple. Tomorrow, because as an HR head we are also audited, why have I released certain budget to a particular unit and not to other line of business? There'll be another
mm,
line of business where all my employees are required to come 5 days a week. So my point is, there I might try to include a subsidized lunch for them, where they had to pay initially say $5. I'll say you pay $2.5. I'm just giving some the mix and the match, permutation and combinations, so that they feel that we are coming to the office, but we are being benefited in different way. These guys are working from home and they're benefiting in different way. So I'm trying to keep
beyond
a very
mm,
sure. Please
beyond
tell
the
me.
allowances and the extra compensation for people who are fully work from home,
Yeah,
how easy is it to actually create an employee experience beyond the initial, you give a care package at the beginning? Because it's kind of different, right? Like if you're interacting with your colleagues at work, you really get to set the tone from the type of room that you have, the type of music that you have, the type of conversations you have together. And like it's also in education, right? A lot of
absolutely
children, because of COVID-19, are doing a lot of their classes through Google Meet and through Zoom, and they
correct.
don't really have that social closeness that they
Correct.
have versus like having to study with a school with their classmates in school. They can touch, they can hug, they can fight, they can beat each other up. But in
Yes.
Zoom, it's like, my daughter is saying like, who are your classmates, who are your friends? Like they're just like faces in the computer.
Yeah.
And for a person who has never experienced reporting to the office, because some of the people were hired throughout the pandemic, do you think it's a struggle for a company to have that employee to make that person really like love a company beyond whatever they're getting from the bank account, because there's really not a lot of connection there, right?
Correct.
They've never even, I've been to seminars before and people will tell me like, you're taller than I expect. And I'm like,
Okay.
well, because you only see me like this, right?
All right. Okay.
There's a lot of or you're shorter than I expected. It could go both ways.
Okay.
Do you think that's really sustainable in the future, or it's just an in thing in 2022 because of COVID? Because if it doesn't really work, I do believe that companies will revert strongly more and more to reporting to the office. Like now, it's still a struggle because there's still
Yeah.
COVID. But later on, it might not, companies will learn that it might not work as well for them, which is happening to a lot of tech companies. Before they were fully remote. And now Elon Musk is asking everyone to report to work because it clearly doesn't work for them. Because
That's
that
right.
employee experience is the one being sacrificed.
Absolutely.
Right? Do you think like, we're just in a transition stage and technically, it's going to go back to where it was before? Because those who work from
Ashish,
home usually before were like freelancers.
Sure.
Ashish, just to piggyback on what Tina's question. This pandemic is not the first time in the world. 100 years
Yes.
ago, we also had a pandemic, but you didn't see people after that pandemic. You didn't see people asking to work at home, right?
That's right.
So,
Correct. Correct.
Or
That's
they
so
right.
did.
it
Or they did, but they changed their
Yes.
minds.
Absolutely. So here, Tina, what I would like to say is, see, we will have to take a very different kind of approach And I would say this is a short-term approach because it's a matter of time. Everybody will be asked to come to the office. I know that very clearly. There will be only 5 or 10% of the, I think, industries which will allow people to work from home. Typically, everybody will want employees to come. But at the same time, these 10% of employees are also important. So
Mm.
coming back to your question is how do I engage with them?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
So actually, if I have the logic of Instagram, okay,
Mm.
I mean, most of us today are there on Instagram. My second question is, have you really met all our friends on Instagram? Clear, no,
Mm.
90%.
Mm.
So then if I was actually having a conversation just last week with some youngster, college student, and asking how many friends and what's your logic. It's just a very open-ended conversation.
Right, right.
I was asking, how do you make these friends? No, no, I like sports a lot, and I went to the sports group, and I posted my thing which I did, and so many people appreciated me, and I became very active. Now I'm very active in the group and have so many friends. So, I mean, using this conversation, I was trying to think that I can use the same logic to handle my these kind of 10% of my people for the next 1 year at least. Because gamification, right? Today we have gamification. My point is people are connected through apps today. I mean, whether we like or don't like, yes, see, we cannot replace the physical employee experience altogether. But
Mm.
at the same time, there are venues and modes and opportunities for us to interact and kind of connect with an employee even while working remotely.
Mm.
Now again, that would actually put a lot of pressure on the management, on the HR leaders, because having an app again, you need to keep very active, engaging, so it has to be active around the clock. So
Right.
point is, it will have an additional cost, but we will have to do something like this. But otherwise, because people will lose the track, they will just work, and who knows? While they are working for you, they're also looking for hunting for jobs elsewhere. They're giving interviews, right?
Mm.
So if you do not engage, so this 10% of the people would have to be engaged, and it could also mean like virtual birthday parties, virtual get-togethers, or for that matter, have an internal WhatsApp group. Try to and have some say every Friday, have some fun session, just like you had the Philippines HR had a session. This I mean before this event, that there are so many benefits. People actually can take certain medical benefits, health benefits, and some resorts to de-stress yourself. So I'm just saying there can be some every Friday some conversations like this to engage a different kind of people. So these are some of the ways through which we can handle. Are these are my views?
Mm.
Ashish, I have a question.
Yes.
The HR here in the Philippines is more administrative rather than that of a strategic one. So do you have any tips for those who are in HR and they would want to change their mindset, their point of view, how they do HR, from administrative to a strategic one, to really taking care of employee experience? Because if you would ask
Yeah.
some HR within the group, they can tell you how to compute for payroll or SSS or PhilHealth. But if you tell them about employee experience, their answer would be, it depends on my boss or what my boss will
Oh,
tell
yeah.
me. So how do
Yeah.
they change their mindset or their how they do their work?
Sure. Thanks for pointing out this question, Rona. And first of all, I would have a probably different thought coming to my mind, and I would like to alert with due respect and saying that all administrative jobs will be taken up by robots. Globally, I'm talking about scenario. Okay.
Mm. Mm.
So I'm
Mm.
saying is all your redundant tasks like Excel sheet, you're asking compensation. I mean, period. I just entered today, my entire thing will give me a breakup. Okay. You're talking about leaves attendance. I have my live graphs of everyday attendance. I have my graphs coming appearing on my screen. I don't need any of my administrative HR. Then it's not. It's like because these administrative functions I mean are there, but I think it's time where we wake up and shake up that administrative job. It's a matter of time. It's going to get out. So if
Mm.
that's out, what do we do next for a survival, for a bread, and for the matter for a profession, right? So I
Mm.
think it's high time that we start thinking strategically, that we invest on ourselves, undergo some trainings, interact with people, undergo seminars, call people from different countries, understand? Because if we do not look at a strategic level, I mean, you'll not have job 10 years down the lane. I'll bet you. Today, every job is done by a robot. Today, just last week, I was invited by one of the World Education Summit, and I was talking that there is a school in Hyderabad. Okay, I
Mm.
repeat, and they have launched robots in school to teach.
Mm.
They have
Who's your
launched
teacher? That machine. Who's like charging?
Absolutely. And you know what I was telling to those teachers, because these teachers were not tech savvy and all, like, so I was telling guys, um, I mean, you're talking so much about education, academic, but have you thought about technology? Today's kids we know that everybody who's born wants to fiddle with a mobile phone, right? With a hand phone. They need a mobile, they need a Apple, they need iPad to play. All parents, we have no choices. Our child will only eat food when they play games. Otherwise, they will not eat. Because this generation is born with technology. So today, the children are no longer interested in looking at some lousy face and coming and teaching every day. The robot is using iPad, it's using digital experiences to teach. And it can teach in about 30 different languages round the clock with a lot of creativity. So I was talking about teachers that 5 years down the line, we will not even have this education summit because I'll have all robots everywhere. So I'm just saying that the times have changed. So we should come out of these administrative tasks in HR because anyway, those won't exist. So, so it's high time that we start thinking and acting at a strategic level. These are,
Okay.
my observations.
As employee experience is definitely important. I'm on board with you on this, and focusing on this can give any HR the cutting edge, that unique selling point, because that's something that robots cannot replace. Robots
Yes,
can, you can automate it, but they won't be able to think of what type of they can think of a list of ideas, but just
correct.
picking which ideas, pick the type of culture that you want, can only be done as a human.
That's
But
right.
boring on that, you were talking about employee experience. Creating employees can be expensive or entails a bit of cost. The biggest challenge is justifying it. The biggest problem is that when you propose a plan to your boss, they always give you a question that it's so hard to answer. They will ask you, how many percent can you guarantee the performance of the people will have if we spend this much money on employee experience? How many percent do you think that sales will increase? People will be happy? And it's very frustrating because nobody's a fortune teller. Nobody can ever predict if it's the same way as putting an ad in a newspaper or putting an ad. Facebook is a bit different because you can see the sales, but putting an ad on newspaper, you don't know, like, after you put an ad in a magazine or a newspaper, how much of the sales that came in were attributed to that ad or something else. So given that, what it's even for me, like, how do you, like, if you spend on marketing, it's the same way. If you spend on marketing yourself, nobody can predict the future. They can only predict what is historical. So what can we say if we want to push a project and your boss asks you to predict, to forecast what's going to happen in the future? It's like, can you ensure that attrition rate will be lessened from 20% down to 10? I'm like, how the, I wouldn't even know if I'm here next year. you
Okay.
know
All right.
Yeah, it's a very difficult question, right? Like, how do you pivot and answer
Yeah.
that? And it's not, the answer is not always answering the question. How do you address something like that? Because there are some bosses that demand a
Correct.
logical answer to such a difficult futuristic question.
Okay. Good. So here, Tina, I would say that as HR, we are business leaders, and I think it's for me when I have such a boss, I talk a number game. Then I don't talk English; I talk in terms of
Mm,
numbers. I actually say for the first time, you have to have faith and trust in me.
okay.
I take my historical data. What's my year-on-year attrition? What's my quarterly attrition before launching my initiatives?
Mm,
And then I do my due diligence of trying to understand what who am I, like we do a TNA, training need analysis, right? So we do a training need analysis to
mm,
find out what kind of trainings my people employees are looking forward for. So I try
mm,
to evaluate, okay, after I have launched my initiative, after my employees have undergone training, after I have launched the birthday celebrations, reward and recognition, what has been the attrition rate? So only because you would need numbers to compare, we cannot talk in the air either sides.
right, right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I tell my boss for the first time, you need to trust me for my experience, trust me for my education, trust me for my past achievements, and I'm sure that
Mm,
they will be willing to take a one-time at least risk. And then during those 6 months or 1 year, you give your best shot in a very scientific designed employee experience. So
Mm-hmm.
you have very clear-cut policies, the initiatives where you can actually do a proper ROI, return on investment. Because I think as HR leaders, if I'm not able to sell it to the management, it's my inefficiency at the end of the day. Because ultimately, you and I understand that employee engagement is a must, employee experience is a must. My director will not understand. Either get lost, 2 cents I care for you, you and your employee experience. He might even throw me out. But you and I understand that without an employee experience, you and I have no jobs also here. If you're not able to have that, if you're not able to create the differentiator, if you're not able to add the USP over here, I think that's where we'll be able to actually uh, crack the seal, so crack the deal rather. So I think once we have the past historical data, launch our initiatives, do a proper due diligence, and then try to
Mm-hmm.
compare the numbers and present these numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, another suggestion which I would say, during your exit interviews,
Mm-hmm.
try to take the verbatim experience of these employees. They will say, yes, Ashish, I love the trainings. So I'm sure out of 100, if at least 60 of them appreciate what you're doing, that input can go back to the management. Look, it's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes not always numbers. Look at the feelings and emotion, because these 60 people who have moved out will be our brand ambassadors.
Mm-hmm.
Had you not,
You've made you've gave us a lot of examples on how other companies do employee experience. In your personal experience or in your close circle, which strategy worked the best in creating more employee loyalty for the company? In your experience, that you
so I
think,
would say,
oh, I never realized this is gonna work this way, to your surprise.
okay, with due respect, I actually differ with the question,
Mm,
because the kind of employee engagement initiatives is not a one shoe fits all policy.
okay. Mm,
It's not a one shoe fits all policy. It's depending
mm,
upon the various circumstances, as I mentioned, the kind of business, which kind of hours are you working, how many shifts are you working, where on. So you have to understand the entire ecospace before launching them. Only once you
mm,
understand the entire ecosystem, around, for example, there is another line of business where people are not tech savvy, dude. So there we can't do anything using technology. So my
mm,
point is,
mm,
so once you study your demographics only, then you can come out with a proper strategy. That's my views.
mm. Rana, any questions? We're almost at the end of our show. So we're almost 5:30. So it's really much fun to hear your any last words, Ashish, and anything to promote.
Yes, Ashish. Anything that you would like to share to our audience who are currently watching or who will be
And how to
watching the
contact
replay?
you.
Oh yes, I'm very much contactable over LinkedIn. So you can actually share my LinkedIn URL with all the people, with all the participants. I'm very much accessible on that. And yes, my email, everything are there from my LinkedIn. You can actually contact me from that. I'm not sure if the chat is a common chat. I can just paste the URL right away.
Yes, please.
Is there a common chat? Just a moment. Let me just
Yes,
send this.
on the
Right,
comment
on the
section you
comment.
can.
Just give me a moment, please. I'll just send it right away.
Right. Rana, your thoughts on the employee experience from the past? Like, which do
Actually,
you think worked the most?
I'm at least from my experience, the gamification worked the most, the best, gave me the best output. But this was because before we launched the gamification, there were a lot of studies that been done, a lot of consultation with the employees, which made the program really successful. And I think that's the heart of employee experience. The only way that you can really polish employee experience, if you talk to the actual people who are experiencing the policies, the programs that you have within your organization. I think that's very important. But I do need to say something about Ash's presentation. I think employee experience, actually, if we would look at what Ashish has shown us, it doesn't have to be very expensive. Doesn't have to be of course there will be costs, but it doesn't have to be very expensive. We first have to realize that, instead, and we have mentioned this many times, Mentor Tina and Coach Darwin, we have mentioned this many times in our group. Instead of asking other people what programs you should have within your organization, it's high time that we ask the actual employees within our organization what is it they think they should experience as an employee of the organization. How do they want to be taken care of? Of course, this doesn't mean that we follow everything that our employees tell us. There's still some sort of discernment that needs to happen within the management level. But at least knowing what motivates them, what makes them happy, what gets them satisfied, at least that's a starting point. We can already work on it, we can create programs from it instead of asking other people, regardless if you're asking Philippines HR group or HR professionals who've been in the business for quite some time. e- don't ask them, ask instead the people within your organization. That's the best way that you can start working on your employee experience. Coach Darwin?
Oh, I'll defer to Mentor Tina first before I give the final word.
Well, to say that gamification really works well in the Philippines. Filipinos love games, even the most basic games. But if you do gamification in Hong Kong, everybody's like, so serious. And in Taiwan and Hong Kong, it doesn't work. But in the Philippines, you ask people to like throw balls, jump over hedges, play around. There's so much gung ho. You tell them to shout and sing, they will sing and they will dance. And it's very adrenaline pumping. So gamification really works in the Philippines. But for me, from
Great.
my takeaway from Ashish's talk is that employee experience is a frame of mind. It's not about the backpacks, it's not about the caps, it's not about putting your face into a brand only, but the fact that management had a mentality of wanting to make that experience of working for the company a pleasant one for people that work there, because they understand that if people find the experience enjoyable, they will stay longer, they will spread the word that the company that they're doing is good, that which will increase the company's equity, especially when it comes to recruitment and retaining the employees. The people who are there, when they start in the first day, they're not sourly, they don't, because there's nothing that turns off a potential employee than in hearing that the recruiting officer is actually resigning and moving to another company, right? And that's the way employee experience is. It's the mindset that you want to create a home away from home for for employees to be able to stay 8 hours, 12 hours of their lives in. Because working is a job. Everybody accepts it's a job, but it could be pleasant and it could be a toxic, horrendous environment, right? And it's not about just providing pleasurable things like air condition or like a wonderful game room or like free food. You can actually improve employee experience even in a mine, even in a construction site, even in a place where it's all wet. That's the reason why we have people who like to go to the jungle, mines, go. They do it because they love it. And they love it not because the external factor is unpleasurable, but they love it because that camaraderie, that experience with along with their colleagues is so terrific. They understand they can't find that in an office environment. There is a bit of fit there. You don't have to court employees who don't want to work for you. So if an employee, for example, don't like to work, wants to work from home, and the only thing you can provide is to be physically present, then they're just not the one for you. You don't change the complete identity of a company just to cater for a minority few who won't even stay there in the first place, because that experience will never be a good fit for them. If management really wants you to report, then that's a type of mindset. So an employee might not even want to work for a manager like that, because it's not just about reporting from home, it's about many other things. Maybe when you submit a reimbursement, it has to be done this way, and if you don't do it this way, you won't get your reimbursement. You have to follow the rules all the time. So there might not be that cultural fit anyway, so you don't change the house that you have to cater for a few who's not even going to buy that house. You change the house that you have so that you will attract the people who actually would want to be there and stay there for a long time. So I think for me, Ash opened my mind that employee experience is something that every HR and manager has to look into, because it's not an HR's job. It's the job of every single person. Because even if you have the greatest HR and you have like a jerk or a biatch of a colleague, people will still leave not because of a boss, but because they just hate their seatmate. They hate their teammate because this teammate always drops the ball. This teammate always like seems to be working in front of the boss, but it's actually not working, and the work is done by you. And that's part of employee experience as well. So it's not just strategic actions, but it's about everything that an employee experiences while they're at work. It's not always successful, but if you have the heart, if you have that focus to look into that and to continually improve that day by day, week by week, year by year, and if everybody shares the same mindset, not just in HR, but everywhere in the different departments, every employee there, like I don't think you'll have a problem with attrition anymore, because people who work there want to work there, because if they moved, the employee experience will be radically different elsewhere. So they will never want to work in another place, because there's no place like your company where they can get the same experience and feel like this is actually the place where I want to work for the rest of my life. So it's a very good way of like looking into it. And thank you, Ash, for opening our minds to that. How about you, Rona? Your
No,
takeaway?
it's already me.
Oh
It's
yeah,
already
Darwin?
me. Yeah. Ashish, now you know
Yes.
why Mentor Rona and Mentor Tina is making my work pretty easy. They've already shared everything that needs to be shared. But
Yeah.
I think we all agree that employee experience equates to higher productivity. And higher productivity equates to good revenues of the organization. And if there's good
Absolutely.
revenue of the organization, everyone is benefited. I think what you have shared to us today magnifies something that the people um, who should tell us if your programs, policies, or processes regarding employee experience is working would be the employee themselves, right? It's
Yes.
the people who
Yes.
are being impacted by these programs that you are creating, not your because your leaders, your frontline leaders, they can actually tell you some ideas, but when you dig dive directly to the employees, you'll be amazed. There's a lot of more things that you can actually learn, and I think it's a continuous journey, especially in a post-pandemic new normal world where we are all trying to go back and
Mm.
get some normalcy again in our life. In the future, I just hope to see that employees will be in companies that would fully develop them, that would fully reward them, and that employees would learn to be loyal and be able to realize that jumping from one ship to another is something that would not be benefitable for them unless,
Mm.
again, there is a strong reason for them to leave the organization. So that's
Mm.
it from my end. Ashish, any last words again that
Just one thing.
before we
Yeah.
end the
So,
show?
Darwin, just, one thing which I want to share was I mean, slightly have a slight difference of opinion when it comes to the word loyal. I think today it's a business. Okay. I repeat, it's a business. As an employee, I mean, if the organization takes care of the employee will work. If the organization does not take care of the employee will move out. So loyal, I think the concept of loyalty is gone today because it's a question of, I mean, you take care, otherwise someone else will take care of me. Simple. Period. So,
Yeah.
I mean, so I
Loyalty
think,
stands for.
I mean, these are my just views I'm just sharing. So I think it's important that
Mhm.
all as owners, as people at top management, everybody understands how important it is for us to take care of our employees together. And I think it's a teamwork at the end of it's not the ownership lies not HR is only a moderator. HR is only a, I would say,
Mm.
catalyst. The actually people who are going to execute are the middle level line managers. And with every single manager in the organization, at every single level lies ownership. HR is acting as a catalyst and as a watchdog to ensure the right drivers are being driven inside the organization. That's it.
Agree, agree. Everyone, when it comes to employee engagement, everyone is responsible, right? So again, thank
Yes.
you very much, Ashish. Thank you very much for all the people who are watching us live. Thank you, mentors Rona, mentors Tina, and we will see you again next week for. Oh no, not next week because next week is our Tech HR in Singapore. But next week for another episode of the HR Cafe, Usapang Buhay, Trabaho, Iba Pa. We'll see you again for another weekly learning habit. Bye, everyone.
So,
Bye,
salam.
Thank
everyone.
Bye
you.
bye. Yes, bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome.
Ending broadcast.